Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this new session on Shiaism, which of course is one of the major breakaway sects of Islam, and in fact that's what the word means. Shi'i or Shiaism or Shia means sect. Today we're going to be talking about this, and we have some very interesting and important guests coming from different parts of the UK who have got some important research for us that we're going to be sharing. Of course, in the past we have done lots of things with Shi'is. 3 formal debates, I think, is something you can access. For myself, I've done 3 formal debates with Shi'i people. So if, of course, you want to see the Shi'i perspective and you want to hear from a Shi'i person making the claim or the case, then that is a reference point for everyone as well. So what we're going to be doing is this is going to be participant led. I'm going to be asking some questions and then adding my 2 cents as well. We're going to start with some of the main themes in Shiaism. What we're going to be doing is looking at 3 major themes and then a host of other things as well in terms of misconceptions that maybe people may have. The 3 major themes will be, number 1, imama, the concept of imama. Number 2 is going to be Adalat al-Sahaba, or the idea of the companions and how if or not they are trustworthy and if they are just, and this concept of Adalat al-Sahaba. Then thirdly, we're going to be talking about conceptions of the Quran, and if indeed there is a difference of opinion amongst Sunni and Shi'i people on the Quran itself. So let's start with the most important thing, probably in terms of the differences between Sunnis and Shi'is, which is imama. Who wants to get us started with that? Yep, okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
So, imama, basically a concept that the Shias have introduced, which is the infallibility of 12 descendants of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, starting from Ali radhiallahu anhu to Muhammad bin Hassan al-Askari, who didn't exist, but we'll leave that to one side.
Fictitious figure.
Fictitious, who was born from a Roman princess, or at times a Nubian slave, so that's a different topic. And in essence, to the Shia, it is usul ad-din. We have to bear that in mind, which is mine, it's the fundamentals of religion.
Okay.
And one that does not believe in imama of 12 infallible beings from the lineage of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam renders one a disbeliever. And there's enough proof for that in Surah Kafi, Kamal ad-Din, Saduq's Musannafat, Mufid. So that's just the...
And these are who, just for those?
These are classical Shia sources from the 3rd, 4th and 5th century.
Okay.
So Mufid, Saduq, Tusi and the rest. So that's sort of it in a nutshell. Some claim that is Usul al-Madhab from the Shia's perspective, which is from like jurisprudence from the sort of schools of thought rather than fundamentals, creed or theology.
And what's the consequence of that?
The consequence is hellfire forever, and we've got enough evidence to prove that. But
meaning that if you take the view, and you're saying that there are 2 views, or at least 2 represented Shi'i views, one of them is that some consider it as part and parcel of the religion itself, such that if you don't believe in this concept of imama, then you're not even a Muslim. You're not even a Muslim. And others say, no, actually this is just something which differentiates Shia people from Sunni people.
So it makes you a Shia only, but it doesn't render you an apostate or a non-Muslim.
All right, so this is why this is such an important concept.
Of course it is.
And a differentiator in terms of Sunnis and Shi'is.
That's right.
Anything else on Imam before we continue from anyone else? I think it's very important to note this. Go ahead.
I think, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, if we just make a distinction from the onset, that the concept of imama, do the Shia, all of them generally believe in this doctrine, or is it just a rawafil? Because we're using the word Shia and then we're saying they believe in the concept of imama. So if you maybe clarify this.
Right, so the thing with the word rafili, which is, it's usually seen as a pejorative term. Okay, now there are some of the Shi'i people who actually accept that term for themselves. The Shirazis and others, they call themselves Rafid. They'll call themselves Rafidis and right. However, just for the sake of academic clarity, not because whatever other reason, but I think it's best to avoid pejorative terms. Ithna Ashari is clear. Yeah, it's better.
Or Imamiyah.
Yeah.
Imamiyah is fine, because they would accept that term for
the
themselves.
point I want to postulate is that we don't give an impression that all of the Shia believe in this doctrine. I know majority may be the Ithna Ashari we have today, but there are
good point. Yeah.
But there are certain Shia in Yemen, for example, Zaydiyah,
Right. Yeah.
who don't believe in the concept of Imam.
I think this is a very good point. The point here he's making is that you've got to look at Shiaism not as a monolith, but is that you know the major sect of Shiaism itself is the 12 sect, and this is where you'll find in Iran, in Iraq, in Lebanon. So this is where Hezbollah. Okay, let's keep this like Hezbollah, so-called Hezbollah. This all subscribe to this particular doctrine, but in Yemen, they are more Zaydi inclined, which is they don't believe in this kind of type of imam at all. What we're describing, and in fact, they've been the Zaydis in Yemen, who are also referred to as Shia. They have been accused by the Shia as being Sunni, so they're kind of in the middle somewhere. Okay, so it's not a one size fits all application. Number two is as you mentioned also Ismailis, but they do believe in an imamah, but it's not the same 12 imams that the 12ers believe in. And the reason why 12ers are distinguished with that title is because they say there are 12 imams. But there is no consensus among Shi'is, if we look at Shi'ism as a whole, sect, that there's 12 imams. That's a consensus only among the 12ers, and that's a good distinction to make from the outset. I think also it's important to realize that there will be differences in how Shi'is conceptualize the imams. How it's written in the books of Shi'is, it's pretty supernatural, to use this term. So one thing which is agreed upon is that these 12 imams, who are Ali ibn Abi Talib, Hassan, al-Hussein, and the 9 from al-Hussein, that they are infallible, which means that they cannot commit mistakes. Okay, that's something we believe of the prophets. It's not something which is so problematic from that perspective. But then, for us it's problematic from a perspective, but it's not logically problematic. When you go into the books like Al-Kafi and others, which you've got some of those books here, which for those who don't know, Al-Kafi is the kind of Shi'i equivalent of Al-Bukhari. Although they would say that there's lots of weak hadiths in it and so on, but it's their strongest book of hadith. And you'll find chapter headings saying things like, the Imam knows the every leaf that comes from the tree, the Imam knows it. What will be and what is and so on. So these kinds of notions, which is not dissimilar from a Catholic understanding of Jesus Christ. Let's just be straightforward about it. It's not dissimilar from a Catholic understanding of Jesus Christ. The only major difference will be is that they don't call Ali or any of the 12 Imams God. And the secondary major difference is that they'll say that all the powers that these Imams have are given to those Imams bi-idhnillah, or with the permission of God. But then the problem is still there. Can God, and this goes to this kind of logical conundrums, can God create another God with his own will? Or can God create a creature which has one of his attributes at the same level? And we would say this is actually what the Sunni position is. This is a form of shirk, a form of polytheism, because we believe that all of the attributes of God are unlimited. They're the highest they can be. So if you say that, well, God knows everything, and now the Imam knows everything as well, so God and the Imam know the same thing. The level of knowledge that God has and the level of knowledge that the Imam has is exactly the same. And then you have a range of verses of the Quran which challenge the notion of omniscient Imam. For example, قُلْ مَا كُنْتُ بِدْعًا مِنَ الرُّسُلِ وَمَا كُنْتُ أَدْرِي مَا يُفْعَلُ بِي وَلَا بِكُمْ. In chapter 46, I wasn't an innovation from the prophets, and I don't know what's going to happen to me or you. This is a very clear verse. I don't know what's going to happen to me or you. Yeah.
Yes, also, just on this, I was going to say that in saying that the Imam has the same knowledge as Allah, you've also denied the uniqueness of Allah. Yes. And when you look at, obviously, when we talk about the Imams, a lot of them are and this is figures that we respect, but in the Quran, the ayah where Prophet ﷺ is saying, "Lastaktartu min al-khayr wa ma massani as-su'," that I would have basically had a lot of good things happening to me and no evil would have touched me. Because obviously, if you know everything, then then bad things, you're gonna know, okay, if I go here, this bad thing could happen. If I make this move, then this could happen. This could happen. But obviously, we're talking about human beings, and so therefore, if you look at their lives, it's very clear to see that they were in scenarios where they didn't have a full appreciation of all of the possibilities or what could have happened.
Great. And what is the best example of that? That they not celebrate, they mourn the death of this person.
There's the Karbala and stuff like that.
Al-Hussein. So if he knew everything, he knew that he was walking straight into his death. So he was committing suicide. I mean, the idea is, we know from the practices of Shia, there's lots of things we disagree with, but I wouldn't say that they are foundational. And I think it's very important also. A lot of people on the lower levels, when they attack Shiites, they'll attack them on mut'ah, temporary marriage. This is something which you don't need to attack them on. Some will go further than that, and they'll say that this is like prostitution. But in our religion, this was at least allowed in one point in time. So what you're calling a ruling that was allowed at one point in time, prostitution, is... Exactly. And so this is a very weak argument.
Be careful.
It is a weak argument. It's just, this is, for us, is a far'iyat, the issues of the branch matters relating to these things. So these are not the arguments we should present. When we're talking to Shiites, we should always talk, I think everyone will agree, about these things like imama or adalat al-sahaba, etc. Please.
Just to show you. Well, it's basically the hadith in al-Kafi that mentions about those who deny their imams.
Yes.
Dies the death of Jahiliyyah. So the Imam was asked, Jahiliyatan juhala or Jahiliyatan la ya'rifu imamahum. So does it out of ignorance, or is it that he doesn't know his Imam? So the Imam responded by saying, Jahiliyatan kufrin wa nifaqin wa dalalin. So Al-Mufid is one of the classical Shi'i scholars, and when he mentions these akhbar, he says, Amma al-khabar fahuwa mutawatir. So it's mutawatir, these narrations about not knowing your Imam. And what does he say? And this is وَهَذَا صَرِيحٌ بِأَنَّ جَعَلَ الْبِإِمَامٍ يُخْرِجُ صَاحِبُ عَنِ الْإِسْلَامِ.
So this is
just
clear. To be clear, what you're saying is a hadith which is mutawatir, fully authentic according to the...
You got a book called Mawsu'a, a hadith Ahl al-Bayt by Sheikh Hadi al-Najfi. He mentions all of these ahadith, combines them, and then Mufid in his Musannafat also says that you leave Islam if you
don't believe in this concept of 12 supernatural
human beings. Even if you deny one, there's a hadith in Kamal al-Din with Imam al-Ni'amah by As-Saduq. He says, the one that denies the first of us also denies the last of us. So if you accept all the Imams, but deny, like we don't accept Muhammad bin Hassan al-Askari, the hidden Imam, we've rejected.
Well, that would disqualify the Ismailis as well, right?
All of them. That's why they are very, amongst themselves, the Zaydiyah, we've got narrations of Wasa'il al-Shia, Bahur al-Amali, where they expelling them as well.
Interesting. Yeah. What do you think now, we've put the case forward, what do you think the evidences that they will use for Imam are? Like if you're speaking to a Shia, what would they say? We'll say, look, this is our evidence for Imamah. First of all, sorry to cut you off, could they bring anything from the Quran, which is explicit?
Not explicit, not sarih.
Okay, it's impossible to bring anything like that from the Quran, which is explicit, saying there's 12 infallible Imams.
If you follow them, you're guided. If you don't follow them, you're misguided.
All that kind of thing. I'm not even in those words, but anything that indicates
explicit. No, even indirectly as well.
All right, fine. What could they bring now from the Quran and Sunnah?
I had just come to my mind now. وإذ ابتلى إبراهيم ربه بكلمة قال إني جاعلك للناس إماما قال ومن ذريتي. Maybe.
Yeah. All right. So what is this ayah? Can you translate it for us?
So this ayah is in Surah Baqarah.
Yep.
Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam makes dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah ta'ala, he responds by saying, إني جاعلك للناس إماما, that indeed we are making you, appointing you as an imam for the people. So Ibrahim alayhi salam in return asks Allah, قال ومن ذريتي, and from my progeny also make imam. Then Allah says, قال لا ينال أحد الظالمين, that my ahad, my pledge, my promise will not reach the zalimin, the transgressors, meaning they will not become imam. So on this point, Brother Haji's handed this book of Usul al-Kafi. This evidence actually used in the book. Same evidence is used in the book is on the authority of Imam Ja'far. Yes, Imam Ja'far. He says, إن الله تبارك وتعالى اتخذ إبراهيم عبدا قبل أن يتخذه نبيا. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he made Ibrahim alayhi salam into a slave before he made him into a nabi. emissary. وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ اتَّخَذَهُ نَبِيًّا قَبَلَ أَن يَتَّخِذَهُ رَسُولًا. And indeed Allah made him into a Nabi before he made him into a Rasul. وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ اتَّخَذَهُ رَسُولًا قَبَلَ أَن يَتَّخِذَهُ خَلِيلًا. And indeed Allah made him into a Rasul before he made him into a Khalil, friend, beloved. And then وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ اتَّخَذَهُ خَلِيلًا قَبَلَ أَن يَجْعَلَهُ إِمَامًا. And indeed Allah made him into a Khalil before he made him into an Imam. فَلَمَّا جَمَعَ لَهُ الْأَشْيَاء. I mean, all of these things gathered for Ibrahim alayhi salam, all these qualities. Then Allah said, إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا. That indeed we make you as an Imam for the people. Therefore, فَمِنْ عِظَمِهَا فِي عَيْنِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ قال, when Ibrahim alayhi salam saw the greatness of this position of being Imam, Allah Ta'ala said, وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِي. He said, oh Allah, from my progeny also make Imam. Allah said, قال لا ينال أحد الظالمين, that my ahd and my promise will not reach the zalimeen, the transgressors. Yeah. So this is in Usul al-Kafi, in chapter 59, narration number 2.
Okay, brilliant. So what do you think the Shia would try and say with this verse, and what's the argument? How would you flesh out their argument in points? What are they trying to say?
Okay. So in essence they are extracting that
Yeah.
Imama is a quality that Ibrahim alayhi salam had to reach
Right.
by going through all of these stages, and because of the progeny of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
Yeah.
which is the best of progenies,
Yeah.
they didn't need to go through, you know, Nabuwa or Risa or, you know, Rasul or even a friend. They could reach that station.
Brilliant. Okay.
Like that.
Now let's get everyone else involved, and let me ask you the question. So how would you respond to this? Someone brings this verse, which is a common verse that they will use. What will be your response? Yeah.
So, if we take it as they're just talking about just the fact that the word Imam is being used, yeah. Obviously in the Quran you have like Imam being used in a lot of like different contexts, a lot of different ways.
Yes.
You know, you've got Imam being like referring to like a book. You have like Imam as in like you have A'imma yad'una ila nar. You have Imams that call towards the hellfire. Obviously now they're saying that this is a specifically religious role. I guess it's a good thing because it's being applied to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Thing is that with that, all of the sort of attachments that you bring to it, sort of the theological concept you're adding to it to make the idea of, you know, as all the things you mentioned, infallible, has knowledge, this position, all these kind of things, that basis isn't there.
Okay.
So
great,
we could
great,
even
great
grant for
beginning.
argument's sake.
So this is very good. There's a difference between exegesis and eisegesis. Exegesis is when you take something from the scriptural text and you understand it from it. So you understand the words and you understand from the book. And eisegesis is when you have your own preconceived notion and superimpose it onto the text.
So I think there was something that maybe we should have mentioned
Yeah.
before getting to talking about these ayats, because obviously
Go
with the Quran, we mentioned at the beginning, they said for this is ilamis usul ad-din. And obviously then like we have a Quranic basis to say that that which is foundational should be stated explicitly in the Quran in a way that
Okay,
doesn't.
we will come to that. It's I don't think that's how I would make the argument, that it should be stated in the Quran. I'll come to this. It's a good question. It's a good point, but I think I'll put it in a different way. Yeah. Going back to the point though, the point is, if you, and this is your point, the point is that when you look at the Quran, the word Imam in the Arabic language means a leader, and it's a neutral term because it could mean a leader which is positive and a leader which is negative. And the Quran uses both things. So, وَجَعَلْنَهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَدْعُونَ إِلَى النَّارِ, we have made them imams that guide to the hellfire. فَقَاتِلُوا أَئِمَّةَ الْكُفْرِ, so fight the imams of disbelief. So you have positive and negative, and then you also have وَجَعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا, and make us for the pious ones an imam. You know, وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ, not this one, the Sajda one, the لَمَّا صَبَرُوا. Yeah, but both, I mean, both are,
Yes.
prove the point. But I was just thinking, the point is this, is that you can have it in positive and negative, and it means just a leader. That's what Imam means, right? Now, having said that, let's go back to the verse, okay? What does it say? It says that Allah has made Ibrahim linnasi imama. I want you to just, before we answer this question, this is in Surah Al-Baqarah. There's another surah which is Surah Al-Hajj. وَأَذِّن لِلنَّاسِ فِي الْحَجِّ. Okay, where he's speaking to Ibrahim once again. And he says, and the same terminology is being used here, وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ. Yeah? Make adhan for the people to come to the Hajj. and they'll come from with every lean camel, damir, and from every high place. Meaning, is this a localized thing or is this a universalized thing? It's a universalized thing. So the first thing is, if they say, why is it that Allah says, Inni ja'iluka linnasi imama? It's because Ibrahim alayhi salam, it could very easily be argued that he has been made, just like the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but on a lesser scale, he has been made as a guide for all the people. He has actually been made as a guide for all the people. And the evidence of that is that we still go to Hajj, we still go to Hajj now, and the initial call was given by Ibrahim alayhi salam. And in that sense, he's an Imam. In the sense that he is the spiritual forefather of all of the other Anbiya. And that's why in the prayer we say, we connect the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. The point is, Inni ja'iluka linnasi imama. All of the prophets were Imams in their own capacity. But not all of them had the distinction of being a'imma linnas, or Imams for the people.
They were sent for their certain nation or their certain people.
Yes.
Whereas Ibrahim stands for linnas.
Yes.
The other thing this verse cannot be evidence for them is the verse itself. Ibrahim alayhi salam said, وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي.
Yes.
So why does the concept of Imamah start from the Thuriya of Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and not Thuriya Ibrahim?
Say that again.
Why does the concept of Imamah begin from the Thuriya of Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and not Ibrahim alayhi salam? Because he said, وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي.
Right. Excellent. Yeah.
So 12 Imams don't start from Ibrahim alayhi salam Thuriya.
Yeah.
Meaning his sons Ismail and Ishaq, they're not part of the 12 Imams.
Right.
And the first mistaq application of Dhurriya in this verse is the children of Ibrahim alayhi salam.
And this verse is against them even more in
Yes.
another way. So we've said, number one, the word Imam could be neutral, it could be not neutral. It could be good or bad, so it's neutral in that sense. Number two, we spoke about how it's linnas. Number three, if Ibrahim is an Imam, how many Imams are there? Because remember, it's meant to be 12 Imams, right? Okay, but if Ibrahim is an Imam now, there's 13 Imams. But what about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Is he not an Imam? So they would say he's an Imam as well. So there's 14 Imams. So now it's not 12 Imams anymore. So you have a big problem here. Because if you're trying to prove this concept from the Quran, and you're saying, look, you can see with Ibrahim, Inni ja'iluka, you Ibrahim. If he becomes an Imam, you don't have 12 Imams anymore. It's become distorted. It's become 13 Imams. Do you see the point? Then that actually is...
What's the hadith? It's in Al-Kafi, but I won't present it.
Yeah.
The Prophet, the Imam is saying that there will be 12 Imams from the offspring of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, if you think about it, 12 from the offspring, Ali from the offspring, from the awlad. But Ali radiallahu anhu isn't from the awlad, and he's the first Imam.
Great. Great.
That's 13.
That's another problem here, isn't it?
There's too many problems, and Jabir bin Abdullah is authentic hadith as well.
Brilliant. Now, this is one evidence. I think we've dispatched with it. Is there any other things do you think they'll come back with? Because I haven't heard them in all these years of debating Shias.
Let's play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
So if they say, the first argument, what you said about with Nas and Nas, yeah? I don't know if they have like usul fiqh in the same way that we do, yeah? But if they say that Nas in the Ayah of Baqarah, that is made specified by other ahadith, for example, that would say that that specify there being imams for each particular nation.
Yeah. Usul fiqh would not apply to akhbar. It's only to ahkam anyway. So this would be more ulum al-Quran, right?
Yeah.
So khas and am don't apply to akhbar. They only apply to ahkam. Yeah. Although you can make the mutlaq muqayyid. All of that is usul fiqh. It's not usul al-akhbar.
Yeah. But if you're like from a tafsir standpoint,
yep.
Do you not?
No, you can't. There's nothing like that in tafsir.
The 6 principles of tafsir is the Quran explains itself, the Sunnah explains it.
Yeah.
And
No, but the khas, the reason why it's impossible for khas and the idea of generic and specific to apply to akhbar, because it would apply contradiction between verses. Because actually, one of the things is, a khas can. There's a difference of opinion here. Is a khas a nasikh? There's even a kalam on this between the usulis. The khas is something which does abrogation of that which is general. But I'm not saying that's molten ijma'. There's a debate. But the reason why they say that is because it gives you information which in many ways, from one perspective, seemingly contradicts the information of the generic. But this is impossible fi haqq al-akhbar, in the narratives. It's only possible in the ahkam.
And
And it's also possible in qira'at as well. It's also possible in qira'at.
You know the ayahs with like يحسدون الناس على ما آتاهم الله من فضله.
Yeah.
And they say that's the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But then it says nas. The ayah in Surah Nisa أم يحسدون الناس على ما آتاهم الله من فضله.
Yeah, okay.
So they say, so that nas, that some of the Mufassirun will say that's referring to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Okay, so what?
What is, so is that
Doesn't
khabar?
do anything for us. We know that. We know that nas can be used. It's called al-khas urida bihi. What do you call it? في صيغة العام أريد به الخاص الخصوص. Yeah. That's specifically to the word.
Okay.
Like for in الناس قد جمعوا.
Yes,
الناس is not all of them. It's some parts of it.
Yeah.
You know, أمرت أن أقاتل الناس.
Yeah.
It's not all the people. Some of the people.
So what's the difference between this case? So I don't make a sort of
Okay,
discussion.
no, I
but-
got you. It's السياق يقيده. In this case, it's the context makes it clear. The context makes it clear, rather than it's khas and am. It's not like the specific is impinging on the generic here. It's just that it's the context. It's specifying our understanding.
لا ينال أحد الظالمين. لا ينال أحد الظالمين. That's the dalil that Nas here is talking about everyone except for the zalimin.
Yeah, and it can't mean one person because it's talking about more than one person.
Yeah.
So there's restriction now, isn't it?
Zalimin as well,
Yeah.
Zalimin.
All right, so that's one thing. The second thing is, who has heard of, and let's bring some people that haven't spoken. Tahmeen, you haven't been here for some time, so I'm going to have to throw you into the deep end. Okay, of the hadith of Kisa'. This is a huge one that they will use. Okay, what is it? Tell us.
Okay. So I believe the hadith of Kisa is about the. So I believe an ayah was revealed, and it was talking about the Ahlul Bayt.
Yes.
And following the revelation of this ayah, the Prophet ﷺ, he went into the house, I believe, of Salama, radiallahu anhu, or maybe it was someone else's house. I could be wrong there.
Salama in one riwayah of the hadith came in, and that's what they claim is like, he didn't let her into the covers.
So in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he gathered Hussein, Hassan, radiallahu anhum, and I believe maybe also Fatima
Fatima as well.
Radiallahu anha, and he said, these are my Ahlul Bayt.
These are my family.
Yeah, family members.
Yeah, okay.
And then I believe in the Rawat, which includes Salama, she asked, am I not your Ahlul Bayt? And I think here there's maybe a difference of like between different wording of a hadith, and I believe in the the hadith that they would like to use, that he said, no, you're not from Ahlul Bayt, and it's these people who are within my cloak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any now, what does this show? Someone, what do you think this shows for them, and what point are they trying to make? How about you, Maad? What do you think what point are they trying to make? Okay, Mehdi.
The
Yes.
mother of the believers are not part of the Ahlul Bayt.
Good. So the wives of the prophets
Are not the part of the family of the Prophet.
All
This is
right,
what they're
great.
saying.
And what point are they trying to make with the Kisa'?
That
how many
these are the only ones. that
Right,
are-
but then how many are on that Kisa'?
So it's was it Hassan, Hussein, Fatima, and
Yeah.
Ali?
Yeah. Okay. So how many
Yeah.
is that altogether with the Prophet?
4, 5, including the Prophet.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So how many is it not?
How many is that not? Oh, the 12.
Okay, 12. All right. So
Yeah.
there's already an issue here.
Okay, I see.
Okay. But let's unpack this a little bit. How do you deal with this particular hadith? First of all, Ahlul Bayt and Imams, are they the same concept? No. Okay, remember the Shias call themselves Ahlul Bayt as well. And Ahlul Bayt, and this may be a tangential point, but they'll say that the Prophet left behind Ath-Thaqalain, the two heavy things, the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt. So Ahlul Bayt are the family of the Prophets, the family of the Prophet, and this is the Umda hadith from the Sunni books that they will use, the main hadith from the Sunni books that they will use. Now it is connected to imamah because they'll say that this is also the basis for imamah in many ways, because it shows that these are the people, who are chosen by the Prophet, who the Prophet chose, and from their extensions, who the imams will be. So what do we have to say about that? Haji, how about yourself?
See, the hadith itself, and I think that's in Tirmidhi, there is kalam on that, in that hadith.
Which one are you talking about?
The one that we follow the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt. There's a hadith in Sahih Muslim where the Prophet ﷺ says, I remind you of the Quran, no, I follow the Quran and I remind you of your duties to the Ahlul Bayt. وَذْكُرُكُمْ فِي أَهْلِ الْبَيْتِ. Now that hadith here mentions about those who sadaqah is not given to at the end of the hadith. So Ali Jafar are part of the Ahlul Bayt. Ali Abbas, the family of Abbas. So the verse that they use is about the ayatul tathir. This is what this leads up to. The hadith
Which
of
is?
one, that Allah wants to purify you, all members of the household.
Yeah.
Okay. According to the Shia as well, according to the Imam, infallible Imam, this just means shak,
Which means?
doubt, to remove doubt from you. It doesn't mean infallibility, nor does it mean, that you've got 12 lineage or 12 offspring from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that in itself doesn't mean we have to do ittiba' of the Ahlul
Which
Bayt.
means?
To follow,
Okay.
to directly follow them in connection with the Quran. It doesn't mean that at all. But they try to obviously interpolate by saying, no, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned the Quran along with it, that means you have to follow the Ahlul Bayt.
Great. So how would you deal with this if a
Like,
Shia,
it's
if
the
you were
verse-
debating- if you were dealing with a Shia right now,
Yeah,
and he said
what-
to you, look, the evidence of that you have to follow this the Ahlul Bayt is these
Yeah.
that are under four, in addition to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, under the
Alayhi
Qisa,
salam.
and they form the basis for the Imams as well.
No, because the Imams itself are not being, they're being divinely chosen by God according to them. So that
Okay.
hadith itself doesn't mention who they are, number one.
Okay.
Because Ahlul Bayt is vast. It's not
Right.
restricted to the Ahlul Bayt of Hassan radhiyallahu anhu or Hussein. So we need to narrow down now who are these people that we need to follow. They can't prove that.
Okay, great. Yeah.
You
Yes,
understand?
you wanna
Even
add?
with
Yeah.
the hadith of Sahih Muslim that there'll be 12 khulafa, they use that as well on top of it. There's no
Yes.
mention of those 12. And
We'll-
the
we'll
leaders.
come to this
Oh,
hadith.
sorry, we're going to come
Yeah,
to that. I'm trying
yeah.
to connect it with the
No,
numbers.
it's good, it's good.
So yeah, so there's no actual evidence in it within itself, which is qat'i, that says that you have to follow 12 members from the Al-Bayt of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam just by this hadith alone.
Okay. If it's the extensions of these individuals that are underneath the cloak,
Yeah.
how many extensions, how many people were the children of Al-Hassan
Yeah, thank
al-Hussein?
you. They divorced Hassan radhiyallahu anhu from this. Because if it's hadith al-Kisa, he was under that Kisa, so why isn't his offspring included?
Okay, great. So exactly, right.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, so if this is the evidence, then now, once again, it doesn't actually prove the point, because if it's the extensions, then it will. Then what about
Include-
Hassan's extensions?
Why not his offspring?
What about other offsprings from Ali ibn Abi Talib
Thank you.
who are not involved
Muhammad
in
bin
that?
Hanafiya is one of them. He's
Yeah, exactly, right. No, but what about other offspring?
Oh,
as well?
from that, yeah,
From
yeah.
Ali ibn Abi Talib
Yeah.
himself. You know, from Al-Hassan, from Al-Hussein.
Yeah.
Why are they not involved in this?
No,
in
they're
this
not.
12 imams. Business?
So they need a nas now to cover that it's restricted to them,
Okay, exactly.
which
But-
they don't have.
Which is difficult for them, right?
It's possible.
Do you want to add to it?
So I think, notwithstanding the hadith intricacies and the kalam on the hadith, etc., also the usuli perspective that even if a single chain of hadith is authentic, if it goes against the Quran, which is definitive, so ita'at of Allah and His Rasul, etc., those verses, we don't take that single solitary. Which means that if a single chain of hadith, even hypothetically, if we accept it to be sahih, but if it contradicts the definitive evidences of the Quran, which postulate otherwise,
Yeah.
ita'at, obedience,
Yeah.
other than the Ahlul Bayt,
Yeah.
then we don't take that single hadith. That's number one.
Okay.
But as they say in Adab al-Bahth Munadara,
Which means?
in the etiquettes of debate discussion,
Yeah.
that ala sabil al-tanazzul, we will come down to your
Which means?
level, we accept, we'll concede your
Yeah.
argument that yes, Ahlul Bayt should be followed.
Right.
Yes, let's.
بضرب المثال.
Yes, hypothetically. The awwal mistaq, the first meaning of application of Ahlul Bayt is wife. إذا رأى نار فقال لأهلهم كثوا إني آنست نارا. When Musa alayhi salatu wasalam told his family to stay here because he saw fire from distance, he was primarily speaking to his wife. So why isn't Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha included in this?
That's a good point.
Ahlul Bayt.
So that's a nice, it's a nice istidlal. It's a good
Yes.
evidence from the Quran.
Yes.
What other evidences can we show from the Quran that Ahlul Bayt includes wives?
The same verses in question.
Which is?
Is the one that starts with Ya Nisa and Nabi. Like so we're saying that the address is here explicitly to the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, because they would have to say that you've got all of these verses before and the part of the verse, and then the end of the verse, which is explicitly addressed to the women.
Yeah.
But then it's only this one part here that's not.
That verse is good. So وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ وَلَا تَبَرَّجْنَ تَبَرَّجَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ الْأُولَى وَأَقِمْنَ الصَّلَاةَ وَآتِينَ الزَّكَاةَ وَأَطِيعْنَا اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ. So this verse itself, which they refer to as ayat al-tathir, the ayah of purification, it starts off by speaking to the wives of the Prophet, and then it says إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ. So Ahl al-Bayt is referred to in conjunction with the wives of the Prophet. In the other parts of the Quran, which Ahl al-Bayt or Al al-Bayt, Al al-Bayt and Ahl al-Bayt are practically, for those who believe in such a thing as taraduf, which means synonyms in the Quran, synonyms. But if they're not, they can be used interchangeably, and they both mean family by ijma' of the consensus of those who have written dictionaries.
You could say the verse of النبي أولى بالمؤمنين من أنفسهم وأزواجه أمهاتهم. I could say it implies it because it's mentioned that the wives of Prophet ﷺ are like the mothers of the believers.
They say because you can't marry them. They have their own ta'wil for that.
Yeah,
No,
but
I'm
that
thinking.
doesn't stop them from being, if they're from, we're talking about, if they're from the family of the Prophet ﷺ.
Yeah.
If you say, well, you can't marry them, so why can't you marry them? Because they're the wives of the Prophet.
No, I'm with you, but they'll say the mother because you can't. حرمت عليكم أمهاتكم. You know, mothers have been made haram for you. But I'm thinking of another verse because we've mentioned two. One more, just
where Ibrahim alayhi salam said, "Do you not wonder at the decree of Allah and His mercy?
أتعجبين من
wa
أمر الله.
barakatuhu alaykum al al-bayt."
Yeah. So this is what do you call it?
Surah Hud.
Surah Al-Hud. أتعجبين من أمر الله.
تعجب من أمر الله رحمة الله وبركاته عليكم أهل البيت إنه
Al-Bayt, right?
إنه حميد مجيد.
So tell us what this.
So basically means, do they not? They say, do you wonder at the decree of Allah and His
Who's
mercy?
it talking to? أتعجبين.
To the
woman. And which woman is it?
I think this is Ibrahim alayhi salam's wife Sarah.
Yeah. So أتعجبين, speaking to a woman. من أمر الله رحمة الله وبركاته عليكم آل البيت
إنه حميد مجيد. All family of Ibrahim. So it includes the wives. Linguistically, and now we've got Quranic precedents. Yeah, but Quranic precedents now that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the wives.
Yeah.
Not just linguistically, even in our conventional usage, I'm here with my family. What's the first tasawwur that comes to mind when I say I'm here with my family? Wife.
Sure. And there are hadiths that say that when you approach your ahl, and it's meaning sexual intercourse. Now this will be very problematic, but obviously there is no. We're sticking with the Quran for obvious reasons. Right, but so ahl in the Arabic language clearly means wives. خيركم خيركم لأهلي. But that's why they translate it as the best of you are the best of your wives. You know, because ahl and ahl is it means wives. As per the Quranic discourse.
There's a hadith of Sahih Muslim when the Prophet ﷺ entered upon the Hujjat al-Aisha, the room of Aisha, and the Prophet ﷺ says, this Sahih Bukhari and Muslim, he says, فَقَالَ السَّلَامُ عَلَيْكُمْ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ. To Aisha radiallahu anha.
Yeah, but
they won't use that. But I'm just saying for us, it's there. There's clear evidence.
Good, yeah. And I'm sure we can go to the Arabic poetries and stuff like that. I'm not going to do that bath myself, but we can maybe do it some other day where we can get the word for pre-Islam, meaning that. So, if they say we have to follow the Ahl al-Bayt, the wives of the Prophet, they'll say it excludes the wives of the Prophet. But then, there's another issue. As per the Shia conception, is there anyone else they consider to be Ahl al-Bayt? Right, so you've got other people. What about Al-Abbas? The uncle of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What is his status?
Not very. He's not inclusive. Ibn Abbas, nor the Ali Abbas. So why isn't he included? That's a good question.
Yeah.
Al-Ja'far.
What do we do with them? Do we give them sadaqah now, or what do we do? Going back to your point about sadaqah, right? Because you don't give sadaqah, zakat
to the
Ahl Bayt.
Yeah.
So there will be a lot of these questions. Now, that's dealing with imama and the issues of Ahl Bayt. We've shown decisively that there really is no basis for this. Now, going back to your question, you say, okay, well, and this is an important question, should all of the usul of the religion, the foundations, the creedal foundations of the religion be included in the Quran? We don't need to say yes or no. Like for example, Ad-Dajjal. He's not mentioned in the Quran. Because someone could argue that he's mentioned that he is from the usul of the religion. Al-Mahdi, for example, fine. Or Adab al-Qabr, some say is mentioned in the Quran, but whatever. It's not as clear. وَإِنَّهُ لَعِلْمٌ لِلسَّاعَةِ وَعَلَمٌ لِلسَّاعَةِ to say it's not the same as the punishments of the grave. It's not that should it be mentioned in the Quran. That's not the argument. We have a hadith which is narrated by Umar ibn Khattab, which is one of the most famous hadiths, if not the most famous hadith in all of Islam. Bunya al-Islam. What do you call it? When the angel said to the Prophet ﷺ, he said, what is Islam? And then he told him the 5 pillars. And then he says, what is Iman? And tu'min billah wa malaikatihi wa kutubihi wa rusulihi wal yawm al-akhir wa qadr khayrihi wa sharrihi. And he mentions the 6 pillars of Iman. To believe in Allah, to believe in the angels, to believe in the Rasul, and so on, and the books, and the last day, and Qadr, predestination. These are the foundations of the Aqidah of Islam. They are narrated by one of the protagonists of the Sunni creed, who is Umar ibn Khattab. Can we find those 6 in the Quran? Can we find the 5 pillars of Islam in the Quran? Can we find the idea of ihsan in the Quran? Yes. So everything that is narrated as the foundations of Islam, as per the most foundational things we believe in, all of it can be found in the Quran. Even there's one verse in Surah An-Nisa, وَمَن يَكْفُرْ بِاللَّهِ وَمَلَائِكَتِهِ وَكُتُبِهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. It's like has 4 of them or 5 of them in there, and then you can the qadr you can find out elsewhere. وَكَانَ قَدْرُ اللَّهِ what's it? قَدْرًا مَقْدُورًا. Or there's other verses you can find for qadr, right? وَقَدَّرَهُ تَقْدِيرًا, and so on. The 6 pillars of Iman can be found in the Quran. The 5 pillars of Islam can be found in the Quran. So isn't it a conspicuous absence that all of these things can be found in the Quran, but what they have a hadith which is very similar to it's their version of Jibril hadith, which is in their own books, the Shia version. وبني الإسلام على 5 أشياء, and then one of them is wilaya. So it mentions the 5 pillars, and one of them is wilaya. Wilaya, by the way, is sometimes synonymous with imama. This word is wilaya. So if what you're saying is the foundations of the religion, one of those things is imama, the concept of 12 infallibles, and that's not found in the same way as all the things we consider foundational, then the question is why? It's not, the burden of proof is not upon me to tell you what it should be or it shouldn't be, or all the aqidah things have to be in the Quran, or all the usul al-din, whatever what you want to call it. I'm not making this argument. I'm just saying, why is it that something so foundational is not in the Quran? وَمَا فَرَّطْنَا فِي الْكِتَابِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. The Quran says we haven't left anything from the book. إِجْمَالًا. A lot of scholars say this is all the generic things that are required for guidance have not been left out of the book. The best thing you can find for me is this idea of إِنِّي جَعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا. This is with the ayah that we spoke about with Ibrahim. It's not strong enough and it's not good enough. And it's not good enough to put someone in the hellfire forever. How could, put someone in the hellfire for something which is not even mentioned clearly in the Quran?
Just to add as well, there's a narration in Al-Kafi, authentic, where Imam Abu Ja'far, Imam Baqir, denied he was an Imam.
Have you got it?
Yeah, hold on, let me get it.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting, yes.
Yeah.
I remember these narrations when we were going through this. Yes, it's a really good point. And there are they say, well, I had this conversation, and it went semi-viral with one of the Shiites. He said to me, find me one example of someone else being called a wali.
Yeah, that was in the park, wasn't it?
Yeah. He said, there's someone else being called wali apart from the 12 Imams. And I said, well, we are called awliya. Al-mu'minun al-mu'minat ba'duhum awliya ba'd. And then there is actually a hadith in Nahj al-Balagha, one of their main books, which says Umar and Abu Bakr were Imams. Nahj al-Balagha, they're Imams.
They were Imams.
Yeah, يسموهم إمامة.
So the hadith that you were referring to, brother, was the 2 people came to Abi Abdullah, and إذا دخل عليه رجلان من الزيدية. So 2 men from the Zaydiyah came. فقال له أفيكم إمام مفترض. Is it an imam that has to be obeyed, obligatory?
Yes.
قال لا. No.
And what's the
فقال
chain?
له قد أخرجنا عنك فقات أنك تقطي وتقر وتقول به ونسميهم لك فلان وفلان. So basically they're saying, look, you know, this is how it should be. And then Abi Abdullah got angry and they left.
So he said, no, there is no Imam.
No, there's no Imam, Muftara.
Yeah,
So
but it's
now
just-
your Imam's telling me that he's not an Imam, but you're throwing me to the hellfire for not believing in him. But he was doing taqiyya here.
There you have it. And they do believe that. They will say, with the way that they will do ta'wil of these, or they will kind of hermeneutically squirm away from these particular narrations, is by saying things like, well, they were doing taqiyya, which means, and this is a concept which is known, right? They can do it to keep the religion. Taqiyya is the idea of hiding something,
Even to the
or
point,
lying about something.
listen to
even.
this, even to the point that As-Saduq, one of their major scholars in the 4th century, in his Aqidah, wrote that if you reject taqiyya, you are kafir. But then Mufid had to do a tashih al-i'tiqad and goes, no.
Can you translate the Arabic terms?
Well, basically that if you reject like dissimulation of your faith. So obviously in Islam, in Ahl Sunnah, we believe you can sort of utter words of disbelief if it, you know,
Life
if your
or
life's
death.
at risk or
Yeah.
something. So that's used, but in what we call in Itna Ashariya, they could use it to dissimulate their faith and also use it to reconcile with people, but then manifest it later. So Saduq said if you reject taqiyya, then you are a disbeliever. Then Al-Mufid, who came I think in the 5th century, had to write a tashih al-i'tiqad, which means a correction of the belief, and he said no, we don't accept this, and he went into a elaborative discussion. So it shows that
There's a discussion on whether this thing of
And
lying to
and
the
adding
people.
this as well, like Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, you have to remember Shia books, or their books were very, very secretive. So if you look at Minhaj al-Sunnah Nabawiyyah Ibn Taymiyyah wrote, he never quotes from their works because he was not accessible. What his interactions, what he had, he used to base or formulate his beliefs upon there. Now we live in a global village where we've got it in our hands now. This wasn't the idea of the early Shia scholars where we could have their books and we could refer to it. So bearing that in mind. Yeah, so that's that.
Well, that's good. All right, so I think unless there's anything that's pressing, and from anyone that you think is important and pertinent on this issue of imama, is there anything that you think could
I
be?
had a conversation with someone before I came here.
Yes.
And he said that one of the things that's important to look at with this is exactly in what capacity, what does that mean to be an imam? Like, is it like a position of political authority or leadership, or is it a position of like just spiritual influence?
Exactly, and so there is a. I think this is where maybe we can bring this hadith of Ibn Jundub, Samarat ibn Jundub, of the Sahih Muslim, the 12 Khulafa, because they'll say, look, you know, the Sunni books say there's going to be 12 Khulafa. Now, what does the word Khalifa mean? And where is it in the Quran? That way, yeah, إِنِّي جَعَلْنَا فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. But then you have إِنَّا جَعَلْنَاكَ خَلِيفَةً فِي الْأَرْضِ فَاحْكُمْ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. Who is it talking about? Dawood. We have made you a Khalifa on the earth. A Khalifa. A Khalifa means we have given you authority on the earth, or successorship, authority, and so on. Now, this is very clear in the Quran. We don't need to go to hadith or books or whatever. The word Khalif, it indicates political authority. A very simple question is, did any, we do know some of them did actually, how many of the 12 how many of the 12 so-called imams had political authority?
So 2, right?
Two, yeah. So they couldn't have been khulafa. It could not be this hadith where it's talking about 12 khulafa cannot be speaking about them, because they were simply not given that station in the same way Dawood was in the Quran.
I've got a narration, by the way, a Shia narration, which kind of insults Dawood alayhi salam in regards to this verse as well. It's in Al-Amali of Al-Tusi and Mufid, and it mentions on the day of judgment, an announcer will announce from inside the throne, where is the Khalifa on the earth? So Allah's making this announcement on Yawm al-Qiyamah. So Dawood, the Prophet of Allah, will stand up, and a voice will say, we did not mean you, although you were Allah's Khalifa. Then a second announcement is made, and where is Allah's Khalifa on the earth? Then Amir al-Mu'mineen gets up. So a voice will come from Allah the Most High. This is Ali ibn Abi Talib, the Khalifa of Allah on the earth.
So
and this is important to note that
authentic.
according to authentic, right? According to Shia belief, the Imams are higher in status than the prophets, with the exception of Prophet Muhammad. With the exception of, so they will say Ali is better than Ibrahim. Now with this, how can we refute it quite easily? Well, what does the Quran say about that? Fatima is better than Mary. Okay, but what about the Quran? What does it say about that? What does the Quran say about
إن الله اصطفى آدم ونوحا وآل إبراهيم على العالمين ذرية بعضها من بعض. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions prophets and has given them virtue over everybody, the whole
They'll
universe.
say the Thuriya here includes the Imams.
And to add as well,
There's another ayah.
Qumi in his tafsir, and As-Safi as well, he mentions that the Sahaba did tahrif of the verse. So it says
Which means
that they did they tampered with the verse. So Allah chose Ali Ibrahim wa Ali Imran al-Alamin, but also Ali Muhammad was in there, and it's narrated and it's authentic in their books.
I'll give you. Yeah, that's a very good point. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I want to ask just a Quran quiz. I guess you know. There's another verse just to give you. Maybe I'm trying to pretend that I know it and you don't. This is a joke. Aywa. So where in Surah Al-An'am? Go ahead.
ووهبنا له إسحاق ويعقوب كلا هدينا ونوحا هدينا من قبل ومن ذريته داود وسليمان وأيوب ويوسف وموسى وهارون وكذلك نجزي المحسنين وزكريا ويحيى وعيسى وإلياس كل من الصالحين وإسماعيل واليسع ويونس ولوطا وكلا فضلنا على العالمين.
This is the point. So it mentions all these prophets and it's وكلا فضلنا على العالمين.
Preferred them.
And then the ذرية is mentioned
Which
after
means
that.
which means
that
we have favored them among all
of the people.
So it mentions the prophets in a sense.
Prophets, and then he mentions the prophets Thuriya, the progeny after this. وَمِنْ آبَائِهِمْ وَذُرِّيَّاتِهِمْ وَإِخْوَانِهِمْ.
That's a stronger verse.
You have to remember as well though, the Shia have to, they have a strong belief that the Quran has been tampered.
Yeah,
We will come to that.
Yeah,
okay, so I'll stop then. I'll stop.
And there's one more thing. Sorry, before you make your point. One more verse now. Fatima, who's higher, Fatima or the Prophet's daughter Fatima or Mary? What's the evidence in the Quran? Now you can go to Al-Imran. No, not this. Inna Allah istafaki wa tahharaki wa istafaki ala nisa al-alamin. That's very clear that Allah has chosen you and favored you and chose you over whom? All of the women of the alamin, the worlds. So this indicates superiority of Mary over Fatima. It does indicate that. So in this case, you can't say that, the Ahl Bayt, giving them that status at the expense of prophets and messengers that have come from completely different lineage, is something which is anti-Quranic discourse. Very clearly.
2 points on this. So the first one being that I know it mentioned specific verses, but just a general point of that, if imama is more important than prophethood, you have so many, as you mentioned, prophets being mentioned by names in the Quran, like these imams are not mentioned by name.
None of them are mentioned by name.
Yeah.
Not one of them is mentioned by name.
Yeah,
Ali is not mentioned by name.
Explicitly, the concept of prophethood is throughout the Quran, almost like, you have to go a few pages without coming across a mention of prophets or his story.
Exactly.
Like that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, we said regarding the position of the imams, whether it's a political position or a spiritual one, we said if it's, or in that hadith anyways, of them being khalifas, if it's political, as we said, like only 2 of them had political authority.
Exactly.
But then the question is, so if it's not political and it's spiritual,
yep,
then what's all the commotion about to do with Abu Bakr and Umar being before Ali ibn Abi Talib?
Yep.
Like the whole point of Shiaism is just, we've just lost it.
Yeah, because why should we they'll come back with some, he usurped the rights. I don't want to go into that now because it will be more in this next section here. But before I go to the next section, does anyone have anything else to say about Imamah?
When he gave up the thing, are we talking? Do you want to do that?
What, Muawiyah?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Imamah still.
Yeah, Imamah still.
Okay, I'll give you one then, one narration.
Please do, yeah.
Yeah. It's in Kamal al-Din wa Timam al-Ni'mah. To the point to show you that this is Usul al-Din. This is from the fundamentals.
Beautiful.
He mentions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he says, Ya Muhammad, if a slave
Where is
was
this, sorry?
This is in the book itself.
Yep.
Kamal ad-Din, which is by As-Saduq.
Okay, okay.
Okay, and so he mentions, it's lengthy, but I'll get to the main point. He mentions, "O Muhammad, if a slave worship me to the point that he becomes tired and his body becomes brittle as milk, brittle as musk, and he rejects your wilayah, their wilayah, Ali radhiallahu anhu's wilayah, then I will not give him any mercy and I will not place him under the arsh." Even if it's to worship, to the point that he will worship and his body becomes tired, but does not believe in the wilayah, atani jahidan li wilayatihim, then I will not give him shade underneath my arm.
It's very clear. It's very clear. Yeah. So this would, I think even Shias would use this against other Shias who say, yeah, right. But now move on to the next thing, which is adalat al-sahaba. Adalat al-sahaba is the idea. Well, first of all, we have to kind of translate these terms. Okay, the justice, if you like, of or the just status of the companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So let's first get a definition of what a companion is. Who knows what the Sunni definition of what a companion is? Let's get someone first. See.
Someone who met the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his lifetime.
And
was a Muslim.
And
stayed upon Islam.
And died upon that.
Died upon it.
Yeah. وَمَاتَ عَلَى ذَلِكَ. Yeah. Yeah, مَاتَ عَلَى ذَلِكَ. So okay, well, let's put this in perspective. How many people are we talking about here?
Some say over 100.
Yeah, all right, but how many people do we know of that are Sahaba? Like we have their names and biographies. About 4,000 to 5,000.
Yeah, Imam Asfahani wrote a book regarding the Sahaba.
Yeah.
Ibn Abdul Barr wrote. That's all. Yeah, you could. I don't know the numbers. So the
about 4 to 5,000.
45,000. Okay.
4 to 5.
4 to 5.
Yeah, 4 to 5. That we've got their actual
names,
full details and. Okay, so that's like 2 secondary schools. You know, they really interacted with the Prophet. It's like, you know, put it in a crude example, having a head teacher for 2 schools. It's not impossible. My head teacher knew me by name. I'm sure maybe when you were in secondary school, your head teacher knew you by name. You might have been year 7, year 8. In the case of Brother Haji, he always looked like he was in year 7. You know, and so on. But, you know, it's not something inconceivable at all. You know, these people, they lived with the Prophet, they fought with the Prophet, they ate with him, and so on. Okay, these are the people we're talking about. Now, what is the first thing we would say to evidence that these are the people that we take our religion from, we accept our good people, that they are trustworthy people? What for us is the main evidence from the Quran that indicates their trustworthiness and their noble status, these companions of the Prophet? Let's go to Mahdi. Beautiful. Okay, so this is in chapter 9 verse 100. وَالسَّابِقُونَ الْأَوَّلُونَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُمْ بِإِحْسَانٍ رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه وأعد لهم جنات تجري تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا ذلك الفوز العظيم. Yeah, that and were the سابقون, the early ones, الأولون, the first ones, من المهاجرين, from the ones who've emigrated, والأنصار, and the helpers, والذين اتبعوهم, and those who followed them, بإحسان, in goodness, رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه, Allah is pleased with them and they are pleased with Him. There's nothing really more clear than that. And then Allah, He tells us what kind of, you know, goodness they will get, heaven and all this kind of thing. رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه. Allah, He says that. He says that they are pleased with Him and they are pleased with Him. This is clear. What would they say back to this? Yeah.
The verse after. وَمِمَّنْ حَوْلَكُمْ.
Okay, so the verse, let's go for the verse. وَمِمَّنْ حَوْلَكُمْ مِنَ الْأَعْرَابِ مُنَافِقُونَ.
مِنْ أَهْلِ الْمَدِينَةِ.
Yeah, so no problem. Let's go with that. It says, and those who are around you from the Bedouins are hypocrites. Yeah, ومن أهل المدينة. مرضوا على النفاق. Yeah. لا تعلمهم الله يعلمهم. Yeah, you don't know them, Allah knows them. How would you respond to this?
How do you know what Arab?
Say again? Okay, brilliant. Okay, excellent. What does what Arab mean?
Bedouins.
Bedouins. Okay, so this could not be talking about Omar or the wives of the Prophet, because none of them were Bedouins.
Yeah.
And first of all, وَمِن men. Are all of the Arab
No, some of them.
munafiqun?
No.
No, okay, not all the Bedouins are munafiqs. So min is not all of it, it's some of them.
Mimman from
Tabi'idiyya.
amongst you, from
Yeah.
amongst, so not all.
Very easy, low-laying fruit. Yeah. وَمِن أهل Medina. وَمِن again. It's not all of them. Yeah? Yeah. Add.
I just want to add on this. You know, the whole concept of nifaq, hypocrisy, because the Shia, they postulate that na'udhu billah, Abu Bakr and Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma, the first three khulafa, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, they were na'udhu billah munafiqeen. So our teacher once said in class that the concept, and this is very clear from the Quran, that the concept of nifaq started in Medina. The concept of nifaq started in Medina. Yeah. The concept of nifaq and hypocrisy never existed in Mecca, because in Mecca, whoever sincerely accepted Iman, they had to go through torture.
Wow.
So a munafiq wouldn't accept Iman just so he can show himself to the world that he's a mu'min, and then get tortured. Nobody's willing to take torture for nothing, you know. There's no benefit in accepting Islam outwardly inside Mecca. Yeah.
It's a really good point.
So the concept of nifaq, looking at the tafasir and sha'n al-nuzul, etc., is very clear in the surah that is the concept of nifaq started in Medina.
Yes.
And Abu Bakr, Umar, etc., radiyallahu anhum, they accepted Iman in Mecca. They accepted Iman in Mecca.
If they want to stretch it, they could say those who were in Medina.
Beautiful. Now, there is something we can say. This is one verse. Let's put all the verses out there which are the most powerful. This is in Surah At-Tawbah. There's two more I want you to think about, because now you've spoken about emigration. Think about Surah Al-Hashr. What are we talking about with Surah Al-Hashr? Maybe we should go to Surah Al-Hashr and look at it, chapter 59 of the Quran. No, this is not Surah Fath. Yeah, Surah Al-Hashr.
I know that it's on the second page at the bottom.
والذين تبوأوا الدار والإيمان من قبل يحبون من هاجر إليهم ولا يجدون في صدورهم حاجة مما أوتوا ويؤثرون على أنفسهم ولو كان بهم خصاصة ومن يوق شح نفسه فأولئك مفلحون. So I just want to mention on this, if I can.
Yeah.
والذين تبوأوا الدار والإيمان.
Yeah.
Yes. Is referring to the Sahaba in Medina. Because man hajara ilayhim, those who migrate towards them, is referring to the.
What does it say about those hajara ilayhim?
Yuhibbuna man hajara ilayhim.
Yuhibbunahum. So which means?
They loved.
So they love the ones who emigrated to them.
Who emigrated, yeah.
ولا يجدون في
حاجة مما أوتوا
وفي صدورهم
ولا يجدون في صدورهم مما حاجة مما أوتوا ويؤثرون, that they never ever found any sort of any difficulty or need because of these people, any sort of burden that these people have migrated. They didn't find any burden, rather they would give preference to them. ويؤثرون على أنفسهم.
So who's it talking about?
It's talking about Abu Bakr, Umar, and these Sahaba,
the ones who came from
Mecca. Yeah, but there's a point here that Subhan Imam Fakhruddin Razi mentions it.
Yes.
وَالَّذِينَ تَبَوَّأُوا الدَّارَ وَالْإِيمَانَ. That the Sahaba made tabawwa means istiqrar, to make a place as your accommodation, yes, as your residency.
Yes.
So they made their accommodation dar, meaning Medina, is referring to Medina, but also Iman. Iman is a kayfiyah. You cannot make Iman. Iman is a modality. Is faith. Is to do with the heart. Is the modality of the heart. You cannot make Iman as your house.
Beautiful. Yeah.
You cannot make Iman as your house. You guys, you can make Birmingham, London, Bradford as your house. You can't make Iman.
Not Bradford.
You got some outside of this one.
But down here, the Prophet said, Allah is saying that the Sahaba at that time, they made Medina as their homes and Iman as their homes. And then one of our teachers gave an example. He asked a question. He said, so can you imagine a person, a resident without a residency? Meaning, can you imagine a person living inside a home without the home? You can't. Because even if you imagine a home without anybody living, then that home after a while you'll see, it'll get worn out. There'll be, different.
It won't be a home. It will be a
It
house.
won't be
right?
home anymore.
Yeah.
And then he asked the question, what's the residency or where's the place for a fish, for example? Water. Yeah. The maskan of a fish is water. Now, if anybody wants to enter the water, they have to imitate the fish in order to survive. Likewise, whoever comes into Iman, they have to imitate the Sahaba in order to survive. Why? Because the primary maskan of the Sahaba is Iman.
Beautiful.
And this can be, this tafsir or tadabbur can be postulated also from the Quranic verse Surah Baqarah, that Allah has made the criterion of the Iman of the Sahaba as
Which
a
is
criterion. فَإِنْ آمَنُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا آمَنْتُمْ بِهِ فَقَدْ اهْتَدَوْا. That if those, meaning the mushrikeen, the Ahlul Kitab, Yahud and Nasara, if they bring Iman like how you have brought Iman.
But here's with the you.
Yeah.
فإن آمنوا بمثل ما آمنتم به فقد اهتدوا وإن تولوا فإنهم هم في شقاق. أنتم is not you, O Prophet Muhammad, is who?
The Sahaba.
It's all of you. What is it? Second person.
It's a plural.
Plural.
Second person. Yes.
Second person.
Yes.
And who is it talking to? The primary audience, recipients of the Quran.
Yes.
Who are who?
The
Sahaba.
Yes.
So if that's the case, then if they believe in what you guys believe in, i.e. the second person mukhatab, who or the recipient of this end user, who are the Sahaba, then they're on the right path.
You have to remember though, if you're going through Shia exegesis, all of these pronouns, this damirs, this tom and hum, refers to Ali and Ahlul Bayt. This you have to remember as well. The Shia will always grab these verses and say it's Ali.
No problem. But we're bringing them وَالَّذِينَ تَبَوَّأُوا الدَّارَ الْإِيمَانِ يُحِبُّونَ مَنْ هَاجَرَ إِلَيْهِمْ.
Ali, he Hajar. All of these are Ali.
Yeah, but the thing is,
using
men
their logic.
hajara ilayhim, and then it's talking about those who have emigrated. Now, men is min al-fadil, umum.
General.
It's a general verse now. It's min al-fadil, al-fad. It's a general phrase in Arabic. So it's talking about all of those who's come. All of those. Now you have to exclude from the general. Yeah, it's men hajara ilayhim. Whoever. It's whoever comes. Yeah. وَلَا يَجِدُونَ فِي صُدُورِهِمْ حَاجَةً مِمَّا أُوتُوا. They don't find any problem for these people. They don't have a... So this is a big issue. So we've mentioned two major verses. One in Surah Al-Tawbah, one in Surah Al-Hashr. There's a third one which we need to look at. Which is in Surah Fath. It's the last verse. محمد رسول الله والذين معه أشداء على الكفار رحماء بينهم تراهم ركعا سجدا.
Just on this ayah as well, yeah, because especially because we're just talking about with nifaq. Yeah, what is nifaq? Nifaq is to manifest iman on the outside, but into your heart you don't believe.
Yep.
But this verse testifies to what's in their hearts as well.
Can we translate it?
Because Allah says that tarahum, that you will see them ruk'an sujada, that you see him, that they're doing ruku' and sujood. This is the external form,
bowing and
which is bowing and prostrating, which is what you would expect to see from a munafiq. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to take. But Allah says ruk'an sujudan yabtaghuna fadlan min Allahi wa ridwana.
That's it.
Which is something that's internal, which is that they're seeking the pleasure of Allah, basically. Yeah. So Allah is saying that they've got the external, but they also have the internal as well. And this claim of nifaq is immediately finished.
The marks will be found in the Torah and the Injil as well.
Say again?
That they
مثلهم في التوراة
in Injil.
كمثل زرع أخرج.
So it's there, isn't it?
Yeah. But what about the other? There's another verse as well. Which one?
Surah Hadid. لا يستوي منكم من أنفق من قبل الفتح وقاتل أولئك أعظم درجة من الذين أنفقوا من بعد وقاتل وكلا وعد الله الحسنى.
I agree. That's a good one. Which in Surah لا يستوي منكم من أنفق من قبل الفتح وقاتل أولئك أعظم درجة من الذين أنفقوا من بعد وقاتل وكلا وعد الله الحسنى. That the ones non-equivalent among you are those who have fought and given charity before the conquest and from those who've given afterwards. So, but they could say with that one, the conquest before that is even people of Medina, the Ahl Bayt and so on. This is not the one I was looking for.
Was it with Abu Bakr in
No, because they'll say it's not talking about him. Yeah. So there's something else in تحت الشجرة. You go on. إذ يبايعونك تحت الشجرة وعلم ما في في قلوبهم. Yeah? So how would you translate this?
Allah is pleased with those who gave the pledge under the tree.
Yep.
And then what was the verse after?
And he knew what was in their hearts.
Yeah.
Who's under the tree? Can we find out who's under that tree? Because I think this will seal the deal, right?
And just to add, the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the sabab nuzul here was Uthman radiallahu anhu went to negotiate when the Prophet and the companions wanted to do Umrah.
Yep.
And rumours were spreading that Uthman radiallahu anhu got killed.
Yeah.
So the Prophet took a pledge to fight the mushrikeen to avenge Uthman. So here again, look at the sabab nuzul.
But who was under that tree?
Umar, Abu Bakr.
All of those?
All of those who you've got issues
Okay,
with.
can you make a claim that it was Ali and Hassan Hussein that were standing solitarily underneath that tree?
Somehow they were.
And doing bay'ah. There was only 3 people giving bay'ah to the Prophet, giving pledge of allegiance to the Prophet.
And spiritually they 90 as well.
Do you think that's a reasonable argument?
It's not.
Have you ever heard it? Because I've never actually heard it.
No, I've never heard it.
I've never heard such an argument in my life.
No.
Okay, yeah.
So that tree verse is verse 18 of Surah Fatah.
Yeah.
So Allah speaking about the same people later on in verse 26, وَأَلْزَمَهُمْ كَلِمَةَ التَّقْوَى. That Allah made lazim. What does lazim here mean?
Obligatory.
Yeah, obligatory. So our teacher explained this. Lazim is, for example, down here, you can't imagine the sun without its light. You can't imagine water without its wetness. You can't imagine sugar or honey without its sweetness. Lazim.
Yeah. Necessary.
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the kalima, the word of taqwa, meaning iman, la ilaha illallah, lazim for the sahaba, meaning like you can't imagine these 3 things without their intrinsic qualities. You can't imagine the sun without its light, sugar without its sweetness, water without its wetness. In the same manner, you cannot imagine the sahaba without iman. But then the question is, did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala impose this on them? وَأَلْزَمَهُمْ كَلِمَةَ التَّقْوَى. So Allah immediately replies, وَكَانُوا أَحَقَّ بِهَا وَأَهْلَهَا. They were deserving of this. And this is also a very strong verse.
Yeah. This is why I find it so disturbing. I actually find it disturbing, those who oppose those verses. You have to do some hermeneutical acrobatics to make it seem as if the protagonists are the villains. It's like watching, like Spider-Man or Batman or whatever, and somehow you make the Joker the good guy, and you make the Spider-Man the bad guy. You cannot read the Quran like this unless you have goggles that you're staring at the Quran with, which distort your image of what the Quran is trying to say to you.
And it implies also as well that the Prophet ﷺ had a bad judgment of character. For 23 years of his life, he had companions he nurtured, and he's getting revelation ﷺ from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these are the people they alleging were plotting all along to destroy Islam, take the right of the Ahlul Bayt, to destroy Islam from within. They're insulting the Prophet ﷺ with this sort of rhetoric.
And not only that, but Allah has gotten His Prophet married.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, remember their position is that they're. I mean, I'm not saying they as in all of them. Obviously, Zaydis and others don't believe, but many of them will very clearly say they believe they're all disbelievers.
There's a hadith in the Kafi.
Yeah,
it says كان الناس أهل الردة بعد النبي إلا ثلاثة ومن هم؟ قال سلمان الفارسي ومقداد أسوأ أبو ذر.
Yeah, Abu Dhar al-Ghifari.
Like the verse in Surah Nur, that good men are for good women. So what are you saying now about the Prophet?
No, but with that one, they'll say it's talking about zaniyat.
Yeah, and they would use
They're talking about zina.
Prophet Lut as well.
That's the main argument.
Yeah.
Lut alayhi salam and Nuh.
كانتا تحت عبدين من عبادنا
You
فخانتاهما.
usually just reply by saying that Allah, He revealed this and He made it explicit. Like there is nothing for like the other wives of the Prophet.
No, but no. Even in those examples, Allah told them. Don't forget. Okay, so this is a good. Let's go back and forth on this. Number one, we'll say, is it conceivable or is it probable that you can imagine that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ would marry kafirat, or women that are not really believers and so on? They'll say yes, of course it is, because doesn't it mention in Surah Al-Tahrim in chapter 66 of the Quran that Lut, Imra'at Lut, or Nuh, Noah's wife, and Lot's wife, كانتا تحت عبدين من عبادنا فخانتاهما, and so they deceived them. But you can see in both cases, Noah's case and Lot's case, that Allah informed both prophets of that deception. إِلَّا امْرَأَتَكَ كَانَتْ مِنَ الْغَابِرِينَ. With Lut, you know, that you will not turn back and see your wife, except they will be destroyed except for your wife. كَانَتْ مِنَ الْغَابِرِينَ. You know, غابرين. So this is Lot's wife. Allah is telling Lut that your wife is, yeah. And the same thing with Noah. We know that there was a whole discussion with Noah and his son.
When he was on the mountain.
Yeah, and either she's going to be on the ship or she's not going to be on the ship. And if she's a kafir, she's not going to be on the ship. So we cannot assume that Noah's wife was on the ship. So Noah, just like Lot, he knew, Allah informed him that his wife was a kafir, basically. So if his wife was a kafir and his son was a kafir, he informed him of all of it. Why would Allah inform Noah and Lot, but he would not inform Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And not only that, but he should know everything. The Prophet should know it anyway. And the other verse, لا تعلمهم نحن نعلمهم والله يعلمهم. I can't remember which one it is now. Is it الله يعلمهم?
ومن أهل المدينة مرضوا ومن أهل المدينة لا تعلمهم نحن نعلم لا تعلمهم نحن نعلم.
We know them. We know who they are. This is the evidence against the previous claim that the Prophet knows everything.
Sayyid Hijab, if I may,
yes, please.
This is very important, the thing. So I'm just going to give a quick backdrop onto this. It's important. So what they can do is this. They can say, look, okay, the Sahaba. So going back to the definition of the Sahaba or Sahabi. So from the Quran, okay, you know, we can say that the people that are with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they were with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. However, they also said the kalima la ilaha illallah, but they did not bring iman, right? So in the 80s there was a Shia.
Are you talking about, just before you continue, just to be very clear, are we talking about the ayah which says قالت الأعراب آمنا? This?
Yeah, this, and even, you know, like لا تعلموا نحن نعلمهم,
right.
Just general.
Yeah.
So in the 80s there was a Shia cleric.
Can you translate that, sorry, before, because I'm sure.
Sorry?
نحن نعلمهم means?
We know them. I mean, Allah saying we know them, and Prophet, you don't know them. The munafiqun. So in the 80s there was actually Shia cleric, and this is Pakistan. He said this on live air. He also wrote a book. He said this, that in Pakistan the Shia have been transgressed, and the reason they've been transgressed is because when it came to build Pakistan, Shias and Sunni were united. When it came to declaring the Qadiani sect, who believe in the false prophet Mirza Ghulam Qadiani, Shia and Sunni were together in declaring them kafir. However, now the Sunnis, I'm not going into takfir, but I'm just giving historical event. The Sunnis are declaring a Shia kafir, and the reason this declaring kafir is that we don't believe in the Sahaba. The Shias don't believe in the Sahaba. So this Shia cleric said, who said we don't believe in the Sahaba? We believe in the Sahaba, right? And he said, they're the crown of our heads, and the turab and the clay beneath their feet, we're ready to make that into a kuhl, eyeliner. So he was saying that everybody's like, oh, this makes sense, you know, these Shias are good people, they believe in the Sahaba. He said, look, but in the Quran, who Allah has referred to as believers, we believe them to be Sahaba, but we don't believe the munafiqun to be Sahaba. And this is in the Quran. Allah has mentioned in Surah Baqarah first 5 or 6 verses the believers, then 2-3 verses the kafirun, and then the munafiqun. So this categorization you cannot dispute. Yes, there are these 3 groups. And then he also mentioned the verse of Surah Munafiqun, إِذَا جَاءَكَ الْمُنَافِقُونَ قَالُوا نَشْهَدُ إِنَّكَ لَرَسُولُ اللَّهِ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ إِنَّكَ لَرَسُولُ. The paraphrasing the meaning of the verse, that the munafiqun, they come to you and they declare the shahada that they believe in Allah and the Rasul, but Allah knows that they are lying. So he gave this sort of speech. He also wrote a book, Mi'yar al-Sahabiyyah, it means the criteria of a Sahaba, by just using Quranic verses. And this book was published in Pakistan. So our teacher Allama Khalid Mahmud Rahimahullah, this book was presented to him. So he said, I've been debating Shias for many years, but I've never seen such a deception where they've used Quranic verse without mentioning Abu Bakr, Umar's name, and yet attacked them without saying, you know, they were munafiqun. So he wrote a response, subhanAllah. Just to give that response quickly, and this is maybe a definition of a Sahabi we can take from the Quran. He said, I looked at the verse, إِذَا جَاءَكَ الْمُنَافِقُونَ, that the munafiqun would come to you. So he said, from this verse we can extract that the munafiqun would visit the Prophet, meaning go to him and come, but they wouldn't constantly sit with the Prophet. They would go and come إِذَا جَاءَكَ الْمُنَافِقُونَ, but they would not constantly sit with the Prophet. Those that used to constantly sit with the Prophet, Allah mentioned, وَاصْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُم بِالْغَدَاةِ وَالْعَشِيِّ. Allah Ta'ala told the Prophet ﷺ, you keep yourself seated with these Sahaba. And then it says in Surah Munafiqun, the Munafiqun themselves said, هُمُ الَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ لَا تُنْفِقُوا عَلَى مَنْ عِنْدَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. The Munafiqun would say, do not spend on the people who are with the Prophet.
Oh, beautiful.
So the Munafiqun themselves knew that they're not amongst those who were with the and Abu Bakr, Umar, who were there, they were the, okay. And listen to this, yeah. And then he says, and then I told you the Makkah part, that the concept of nifaq started in Medina.
Yeah.
Then he said, when the Munafiqun realized that these close Sahaba, especially Abu Bakr, Umar, they're with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they wanted to cause disunity. They wanted to cause tafriq. So what did they do? They build a masjid. وَالَّذِينَ اتَّخَذُوا مَسْجِدًا ضِرَارًا وَكُفْرًا وَتَفْرِيقًا بَيْنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. They build a masjid based on hypocrisy and to cause harm and to cause disunity. As soon as they build this masjid, the Munafiqun, now they wanted to sanctify, they wanted to validate this masjid. So the best way to do it is to call the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as iftitah, as an opening. As soon as they call the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah said, لا تقم فيه أبدا. Do not even place your foot inside this masjid. لَمَسْجِدٌ أُسِّسَ عَلَى التَّقْوَى مِنْ أَوَّلِ يَوْمٍ أَحَقُّ أَنْ تَقُومَ فِيهِ رِجَالٌ يُحِبُّونَ أَنْ يَتَطَهَّرُوا وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُطَّهِرِينَ. Allah reminded the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam about the other masjid, the first masjid, Masjid al-Quba, and he praised the companions in there. Why? Because of the purification, Taharah. So the verse is about Taharah. There's two types of Taharah. And which Taharah are we talking about here? We're talking about the internal, because it's talking about kufr and nifaq. So we're talking about iman, this sort of Taharah. So Allama Sahib rahimahullah mentions that when they built this masjid.
So what's the name of the scholar?
Dr. Allama Khalid Mahmood. I've got his book here. It's 300 sides, just verses of the Quran. So he says, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do not place your foot inside this hall, inside this room where the munafiqeen are? Why? Because the munafiqeen spiritually, they're najis, they're impure, and it's not befitting for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who's khatamun nabiyyin, imamul anbiya wal atqiya, to place his foot even for a second inside this room, because the context is about tahara. So he goes, when Allah rejected that the Prophet ﷺ places his foot for even a minute inside that room, how is it possible that he sleeps with both of them in the same room till Qiyamah?
Allah. That was very good, huh? This is why we brought him over, guys.
So he says, from the Quran we can understand that those who used to constantly sit with the Prophet ﷺ, they can't be munafiq.
Allahu Akbar.
Beautiful.
What an istinbat.
It's there behind it.
He actually told me to translate when he was alive. It was my weakness. He said translate it in the English language.
But now see, subhanAllah, we opened up the door for you, right? This is a translation. You've translated this, part of it, at least auditory.
فَلَا تَقْعُدْ بَعْدَ ذِكْرَ مَعَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ also proves it. Do not sit with the ظالمين قوم.
It's very interesting. It's
very
beautiful.
Powerful.
It's beautiful.
And discourse itself, it's
just so powerful.
Yeah. So much.
And this is مَنْ عِنْدَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ حَتَّى. What is it?
لا تقعد sorry
المنافقون is حتى ينفضوا.
Yes, so many verses like
ولله ميراث السماوات والأرض خزائن السماوات والأرض.
So he said this, that I'm alive now, so if you disagree with this hypothesis, tell me. So he was very, mashallah, he believed in this.
Beautiful, excellent, unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. I mean, I think we've all really enjoyed that. I mean, that's another one. That's another one.
Need to write this down. Get translated now.
Well, no worry, we've got it recorded. I mean, it's fantastic, absolutely brilliant. And
just out of companions, I just want to get there because they could come back with this, and as always, you got to be prepared.
Yeah, of course.
That you got the hadith canon, that's ahli riddati ba'da nabi illa thalatha. Those who repostated after the Prophet ﷺ. But they got a hadith in al-Khisal, which is authentic, where Imam Ja'far said that the companions of the Prophet ﷺ were 12,000. And none of them were murji'ah, none of them were qadariyah, none of them were this. So they could argue we do have narrations that there were 12,000.
The tulaqah.
No, they just said 12,000. There were 12,000. They didn't mention whether they were from the tulaqah or whether they were before. But even if you use that as an example, is that your hadith are inconsistent.
Right.
Because if you're saying there was only 4 that believed, where's 12,000 come from?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you understand? And even you go to the hadith of Tabrasi, or even Kitab Sulaiman bin Qais, Ali anhu allegedly got attacked. No, where were the 12,000 to support him at that time?
Exactly, yeah.
When they attacked his wife.
Very good, very good. And they have to have 12 there, don't they? Even when they're talking about thousands of people.
Just the zeros are missing.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Just one more point. Ustad Rahimullah mentioned, he was the first people to attack the Sahaba, the group of Sahaba, especially in Mecca. So you got Abu Bakr, Umar, etc. radiyallahu anhum, was mushrikeen of Mecca, the polytheists of Mecca, Abu Jahl and others. What did they say? وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ آمِنُوا كَمَا آمَنَ النَّاسِ قَالُوا أَنُؤْمِنُ كَمَا آمَنَ السُّفَهَاء. So when they were told, meaning Abu Jahl, etc., to bring Iman like the people have brought Iman, and down here, the people at that time were the Sahaba.
Small number as well.
Yeah, the small in number. So what did they say in response? They said, قَالُوا أَنُؤْمِنُ كَمَا آمَنَ السُّفَهَاء. Shall we bring Iman like the foolish people have brought Iman? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded, أَلَا إِنَّهُمْ هُمُ السُّفَهَاء وَلَكِنْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. That the reality is that these guys are the ones foolish ones, but they don't know. So Ustad Rahimullah said that the point here, the principle that we can understand, that there are many other words Allah could have chosen. He could have said, these guys are misguided, فَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. There are many other words for foolishness in the Arabic language.
Right.
But Allah used the same word as the mushrikeen. The mushrikeen said that the Sahaba are sufaha. Allah said, no, these guys are sufaha. So he said the principle is whatever you say regarding the Sahaba, that's what Allah will say about you.
Allah, subhanallah.
Yes.
Subhanallah. And it's, you know, and this sounds cliche right now, right? But this might sound really like cliched. But do you know when, you know, one of the rituals of the Shia is to whip, you know, and cut. I remember when I was in school, actually, had a friend of mine. I remember this like yesterday. I was probably in year 9 or something, you know. So I was in year 9. This brother came to. He was not even a Muslim, and he came to me. He was like, "Bro," he was like, "What happened, man? I saw something, yeah." He was like this. He goes, "They were just getting knives and doing this," and I can remember that. Wallahi, this thing that he did with his face like that, and this, because obviously, you know. But the punishment for the punishment for accusing a chaste woman or a chaste man, but the Quran states a chaste woman of fornication is 80 lashes, and a lot of them do actually accuse Aisha radiallahu anha of that.
This is in the hadith corpus, by the way.
Which is
when the Mahdi comes, because the
Yes,
one that's going to come,
you were saying,
the violent one that's going to come, he's going to take out stuff.
yeah, it's horrible, yeah.
And it's going to apply. This is Il Shara'i of Saduq, so if you want the reference, you know, I'll bring it.
Is it authentic?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's various others that Abu Bakr and Umar. You know, I just got
it just seems like an angry person.
It's just, you know what
venting,
one person
you know?
said, and I don't want to mention his name. He mentioned that this concept it's a poor version of goth. It's like, just if you go in black, red, upset, wailing, it's a poor version of goth, honestly.
Yeah. And so that when they're whipping themselves, many of them will be administering the punishment on themselves. Now, I'm not saying all of them deserve that punishment from a Shari'i standpoint, but it is ironic that you're whipping yourself like that, because it is the punishment for someone who accuses the mothers of any woman actually of illicit intercourse. Now, this
the hatred stems from the Battle of Jamal. That's where it stems from.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second. So you've got two major battles. I mean, there's more than two, but two major ones that have been referred to.
You could say 20 years after.
20 to 30 years, right?
Yeah, after.
Jamal and Safin.
Jamal and Safin. And the core dispute between the companions wasn't to do with any personal issues between them. It was all to do with avenging the blood of Uthman, who was brutally killed. I think it was besieged for 30 to 40 days in his house. Now, there was two groups among the companions. Now, Ali Rida Anhu was also, listen to this is in Najm Balagha. They believe he's divinely important. We're going back to Imam again, but it's all connected. When the people of fitna wanted to give him bay'ah, he said, Da'uni wal tamisu ghayri.
Which means?
Leave me. So they wanted to give him the bay'ah, ba'da qatl Uthman. They wanted to give him the bay'ah now. We want you to be the leader. He said, leave me and go to someone else. So if he was divinely appointed, why is he saying, leave me and go to someone else? That's number one. So Ali Rida Anhu took the Khilafah. And many companions after didn't want to stay in Medina due to this, because it was an atmosphere was very bad. So they migrated to Mecca. From there, emotions were high, and they wanted to avenge the killing of Uthman radiallahu anhu. That's and Aisha radiallahu anha was of that party. But when they say, why did she leave her house? Awalan, she went with her brother, who was a mahram, Abdullah ibn Zubair. So she didn't leave the house without a mahram, if they're going to argue that point. So this battle is basically they try to.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah, I'm just trying to say, but they're trying to construct the battle as if Aisha had a vendetta against Ali radiallahu anhu.
Yeah, of course they want. Yeah.
And that's where all the narrations come in, even to the point in Kitab Sulaym ibn Qais, Ali radiallahu anhu had the authority to divorce Aisha after the death of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam.
To what?
To divorce. So Ali radiallahu anhu gave the divorce on behalf of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. So yeah, it gets to that.
I never actually knew that they believe that.
Yeah, videos coming soon.
Oh, all right, okay.
Yeah.
You made a video recently about the sons of Ali being named Abu Bakr.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's
And
authentic.
Yeah, authentic. It's
Omar and Abu Bakr.
Abu Bakr. And
It's like if he really had a vendetta against him, it's like I have a vendetta against Donald Trump and George Bush. I'm going to call my two sons George and Donald.
and but you know what's
David
like,
Wood.
they'll use like Umar was a famous name, but Abu Bakr is a kunya,
Which means
which is like a what would kunya be?
nickname, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a nickname or named after like endearment or something.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
why
yeah.
is he naming his son Abu Bakr? And the look at the beauty of it. Abu Bakr and Umar were also martyred at Karbala with Hussein radiallahu anhu.
Subhanallah. So you would name. So Ali named his sons after the two men who supposedly usurped his rights, according to their books.
And to add, fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
Umar
Which is what you do all the time, isn't it?
soon to come out. But Umar
Yeah.
al-Khattab radiallahu anhu married the daughter of Ali radiallahu anhu.
And is that authentic on their books?
Authentic, because
In their
there's a
books?
book in Wasa'id al-Shia that's authentic that mentions that when Kulthum, when Umar bin Khattab died, Kulthum had two sons named Zayd ibn Umar, one son and one daughter. One was named Zayd ibn Umar bin Khattab. So there's one. Number two, they got a narration which said that a jinn impersonated Kulthum and married Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu.
That's unbelievable.
And I'm just saying, like, this
Yeah.
is the extent they go to. So it's very, very.
Yeah, okay,
I know,
and-
you're laughing. Honestly, it's not even a joke. I'm not even laughing. I'm got a straight face, bro.
On this point, actually, because this is damning, really damning
Yeah,
evidence. The two people that supposedly usurped your rights, you're naming your sons after them, okay? With a kunya being one of them. And you're marrying your daughter to one of them. And then you have this incident of Fadak, which is one of the misconceptions. Please,
In a
yeah.
hadith authentic in Furu' al-Kafi that Abu Ja'far said that about Kulthum, Inna al-Farj ghusibnahu. That was a vagina and a private part that was usurped from us.
Which one?
Kulthum. So the one that married Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, Ali radiallahu anhu's daughter, Kulthum bint Ali,
So it's like the humiliating.
humiliated, said, Inna al-Farja ghusibnahu. This is Abu Ja'far. According to them, they
attribute that to who? Amr.
Abu Ja'far, the sixth Imam.
No, but they say that who said
So
that?
who usurped the vagina or the private part was
Yeah.
Umar.
So he said, apparently he said that.
So the infallible Imam said that vagina was usurped from us, meaning the Ahl al-Bayt. That
Oh,
Kulthum
okay.
married Umar bin Khattab.
even that one. This is
It's just
it's
this is the
pathetic.
vendetta. This is the animosity, the
right,
aggression.
right. And is this authentic? Have you seen?
Authentic.
Authentic. Cool.
They know it as well. They've got a narration where when Umar bin Khattab died, Ali radiallahu anhu took Kulthum from his house and took her back.
My God.
And then another one where Umar bin Khattab threatened Abbas.
It's like they're
I got
trying
loads.
too
There's
hard.
so many.
They're trying.
Yeah, honestly.
they're trying too hard.
You have to remember, Brother Hijab, I'm reading this.
Yes.
And I'm collating all this information, thinking,
It's-
honestly, do
it's
you really
comical.
believe this?
It's comical. It's comically absurd.
Absurd.
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
Okay. Now let's move to another point before we get to Fadak. Actually,
Yeah.
let's talk about the situation of Al-Hasan. Now, the Quran says, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. Whoever does not rule by what Allah has revealed, then they are disbelievers. Is it conceivable that Al-Hasan would give up his political authority to a disbeliever? To a man who's not even a Muslim? That he'd have to now lead the prayers of Muslim people. He would have to lead them in jihad. He'd be marrying the women, getting people married together, all the things that require Islam. Is it conceivable that Al-Hasan would actually give his authority up to such a man?
No.
It's not. Tell us a little bit about that.
Because obviously they believe he's an infallible Imam. So why would he do something as degrading as that, I guess, in their eyes?
Yeah, not only is it degrading, but is it even?
It's not possible, according to the ayah as well, that you mentioned.
Yeah, and is it even
Yeah.
allowed?
No.
Okay.
But also, if Imam It's a position of divine appointment. Like, Allah has told you you're an Imam, and then you decide that, what you're now saying about your Imam, that he decided basically, I don't want to be that anymore. Because we know, for example, from the story of Yunus alayhi salam, like, what happened with the whale and all that stuff. But for them, obviously, Imamah is more significant than being a messenger.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, from that perspective, if he's now decided to give that up, and not only that, but from their perspective, a'udhu billah, to give it up to a disbeliever.
Yeah, it's
Wallahi,
unbelievable.
Do you know, I was thinking about this, Wallahi, because I was getting like PTSD. I was wondering like where I started to feel like this, just playing with the verses, all this stuff. Like, sometimes I've had discussions with certain evangelical preachers from the Christian community. I'm not trying to disparage them and it's a similar thing. It's like things are so clear and you're running around and you're getting caught out
It's a very difficult thing to believe if you believe in the Quran.
Wallahi.
That's basically how I would summarize it. It's Shiaism understood in this way, and we have to stress here. If you bring a Shia layperson, they will disavow this stuff. They will disavow this stuff. I've lived in central London, where there's a huge Shia community. I've known many Shia people. When you tell them this is what's in your books, they say this is not something I believe in, and that's why we should be careful not to make takfir of these people.
I have a video to do about Ibn Taymiyyah was just with them.
Yeah, we should not excommunicate these people. We should not, disrespect them, because especially we need to be careful, because these are all things which are in books, some of which I haven't read before, you haven't read before, and certainly they have not read before. So which means that if we apply this stuff on the ground, we need to be careful not to think that they believe in this stuff, because
they don't know about it.
They probably don't even know about it. Okay.
And our interactions with the Shia in Speaker's Corner, when you do present these evidences,
they'll deny it.
95% of them said, "I've never heard of it."
Exactly. Yeah,
so if they haven't heard of it, then you can't you can't force the narrative that they believe in it, or they're trying to hide it from you.
They'll take a label, and don't think that label means that they've read all these books that you've read, and this is very important, because it is a problem to just blanketly cancel these people, and because how are you going to bring them into what we believe? And this goes back to like the way that you give dawah. Just explain that these are things which are contrary to the Quran, and they can leave them with the decision to make. But the lay people, we have to have a level of mercy with them. We actually do, because wallahi, in my interactions, especially after I've done a lot of my debates and stuff with Shia people, you've really got to, once they know, a lot of them will leave, and they will become, I'm not going to say become Sunni, but they'll become people. Because what is this word Sunni? What does it mean? Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Ahlus Sunnati Nabi wa Jama'at al-Sahaba. The Sunnah of the Prophet, which is what Allah says in the Quran, وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنكُم فَإِن تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ. And the other one, إِن كُنتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبُكُمُ اللَّهِ. If you love Allah, then follow me, i.e. the Prophet, and Allah will love you back. We're just saying, follow the Prophet. That's it. That's literally what Sunnah means. Sunnah means to follow the Prophet. And not just Prophet Muhammad, all the Prophets. Jesus, the Sunnah of Jesus, the Sunnah of Abraham. That's basically all we're saying. And what we're saying is that in terms of creedal matters, and the best people are those who the Quran mentioned, the companions. Taraddi, Allah has already praised them and so on. These are the best. It doesn't mean they had all the answers in the world about every little thing. Of course not.
Just to add as well, we don't claim they're infallible either.
We don't claim they're infallible.
That's the important we need to add. Because what they portray is that we treat the companions like prophets, and we don't.
No, of course not. And we don't consider them infallibles. They were just people there with the Prophet. We don't disrespect them. That's simple as that. Our religion is a religion of inclusion. They are telling us to exclude. There's a difference here. We are saying, look, these are who the Prophet basically was with. These are his friends. These are his companions. These are his wives. We respect them just like he respected. We do. We have the same attitude with the companions that the Prophet had. They're saying no. They're saying let's have a different attitude than the Prophet had. Just bear that in mind. Which way you can decide to follow the Prophet in his attitude with the companions and the wives of the Prophet, or you can decide to follow the Shia. And it is a matter of that. And it's really interesting, this ayah in the Quran that says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَرَّقُوا دِينَهُمْ وَكَانُوا شِيَعًا لَسْتَ مِنْهُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ. That the ones who actually, the word Shia comes in the Quran, it's neutral as well. وَكَانَ مِنْ شِيَعَتِهِ وَكَانَ مِنْ عَدُوِّهِ. It's not like, هذا من شيعته وهذا من عدوه. You know, the word Shia is like Imam. I'm not saying it means it's always negative, but it does come in this form, which is the ones who have separated their religion and become Shia. You have nothing to do with them, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's very unusual that they'll take this word and make it, you know, the name of the sect. When the Quran says, you have nothing to do with this Shia. But the point is that we are just saying that. And there is a similarity between the Khawarij and the Shia, because both of them made takfir. The Khawarij, they make takfir of people. Actually, funnily enough, both of them made takfir of the Sahaba as well, the companions. We're just saying these are two early permutations. One of them kind of survived, and one of them didn't as much, which is the Khawarij didn't as much as the Shia, which really goes against the Quran and Sunnah. Now let's move on to the third point. Yes, of course, please.
So the thing is, alhamdulillah, we've been concentrating on the Quran. The Quran is very clear and vividly, mashallah, demonstrates the maqam and the status of the Sahaba.
Yes.
But then when people, they read these historical narratives where the fighting between the Sahaba and
Yes.
all these things. So how should our approach be regarding this?
Beautiful.
So
Yeah.
a person came to our teacher, alhamdulillah, rahimahullah, and he said, I have objection on Sayyidina Muawiyah radiyallahu ta'ala an. He said, how many objections do you have? He said 10. He said, well, he's still a Sahabi. He's still a Sahabi.
Companion,
Why?
yeah.
Because Suhbah, companionship, is something that's Wahbi, not Kasbi. Meaning, is God gifted, not a person acquires Suhbah. You can try all your life, you can never become equivalent to a Sahabi. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam for his company, he also chose the Sahaba. اختارهم الله لصحبته لصحبة النبي. The narration of Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala, من كان منكم مستنا فليستن بمن قد مات فإن الحي لا تؤمن عليه فتنة. Yes. So the point here is, what's the attitude of the Quran? How does the Quran deal with the actions of the Sahaba? Even though, like we said, we don't believe they're infallible. But what does the Quran do? The Quran does not expose them. The Quran doesn't discuss them. So for example, our teacher said this. It's an Uhud. Sahaba made mistake. When Prophet ﷺ told him to stay in that certain area, and then those Sahaba, some of them moved away, and then at that time Khalid bin Walid radiyallahu anhu, he had not accepted Islam, so he came and he attacked. So that was a big setback for the Muslims. Many Sahaba got shaheed. Sayyidina Hamza radiyallahu anhu got shaheed. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was injured. But what did the Quran do when Allah addressed this? Allah said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Fa'fu anhum," forgive them. Yeah. Wastaghfir lahum, and not just forgive them, but you seek istighfar on their behalf. When anybody makes a mistake, if I make a mistake against you, then I ask forgiveness, yes, from you. Down here, the Sahaba made the mistake, but the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has been told, you do istighfar on their behalf. That's how beloved the Sahaba are. And because of this mistake, don't stop doing mashwar and consultation with them. وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ. Another one more incident. The three Sahaba who didn't go for the battle, وَعَلَى الثَّلَاثَةِ الَّذِينَ خُلِّفُوا. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba did not speak to them for 50 days or so. Yes. When the announcement of the Tawbah came, وَعَلَى الثَّلَاثَةِ الَّذِينَ خُلِّفُوا. But where is this coming from? لَقَدْ تَابَ اللَّهُ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ وَالْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ. And then وَعَلَى الثَّلَاثَةِ الَّذِينَ خُلِّفُوا. Allah accepted the Tawbah of the Muhajirin and the Ansar, and then those three Sahaba who did not join Jihad. Yeah. But the Muhajirin and Ansar did not go. They didn't do anything wrong. It was three Sahaba. But the reason Allah has mentioned the three Sahaba amongst the other Sahaba is to teach us that we don't discuss the a'mal, the action of the Sahaba.
Yes. Also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave. وَلَقَدْ عَافَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ.
Yes, Allah
forgave them themselves. And they keep referring to that battle, by the way. Yeah. They ran.
Yes.
But your Mahdi ran when he was fighting.
Nobody is asserting or postulating
make mistakes.
The notion that they're infallible. No. What we're saying is that they are uswa for us, they are role model for us, their iman is a criterion for us to follow. These are all from the Quranic verses. And yes, they made mistakes. Of course, they were humans. However, we don't discuss them, and we need to basically we need to sort ourselves out basically.
And they'll get an ayah like from Al Imran, hum lil kufri yawma idhin aqrabu minhum lil iman, and they'll think it's in their favor, but this is what they are to disbelief closer to them on that day than iman. This ayah is against them, because it's doing taqeed, or it's constraining it, saying on that day No, but even if we say it's talking about, even if we say it would indicate that it's not the general state of affairs, because it's on that day, يوم إذن أقرب منهم الإيمان. It's not every single. This is on that day. Meaning on that, other than that day, مفهوم مخالفة is it's not like that, because that was a test for them. وزلزلوا زلزالا شديدا in the other ayah, in the other surah, the Surah Al-Ahzab. Anyway, let's move on to the third and final thing. But before that, actually, I want to mention Fadak, because it's something that they bring up quite often. Fadak is an incident where Fatima radiallahu anha, she was Fatima radiallahu anha had a different understanding of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq on the inheritance of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that he doesn't leave behind inheritance, and that's how Abu Bakr understood it. So there was this plot of land, it's called Fadak, which Fatima wanted to be inherited, and Abu Bakr said, since the Prophet said there's no inheritance, I'm not going to deviate from that. Now they will say, look, this shows tension between Fatima and Abu Bakr, because there is a hadith in the Sahih collection that says that Fatima, that she withdrew from Abu Bakr until her death, because Fatima radiallahu anha, she died 6 months after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam died.
That's something.
Yes.
According to Shia narrations, it's 75 days.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. So according to our narrations, it's 6 months. Right. So let me open it to the floor. Anybody who's this is one of the misconceptions as well. Anyone who knows how to answer this?
What's the problem?
They will say that, look, this is evidence of usurping, or Abu Bakr is usurping the rights of Fatima. In this case, it's the right of land.
In the book, women are not allowed to have a land.
Say that again?
So in the book, women are not allowed to have properties in Islam.
In their books?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
What was that, sorry?
He says in their books, women are not allowed to have property. Have you come across something like that?
Maybe true. Maybe true.
We have to double check the authenticity of that. That's very interesting. You can put that in the group and we can check that together.
Yeah, we'll check it.
That's interesting, right?
We've got a library.
That's interesting, yeah.
Just to add with Fadak as well, there's the whole narrative, and I've done a video on it called The Lady of Heaven, countering the movie that's come out recently, is that Fatima radiallahu anha, she passed away, Fadak was still under the trust of the Khilafah. When Umar bin Khattab, it's in Bukhari, because they use the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha that she was angry with Abu Bakr for 6 months before she passed away, or before she passed away. But Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu entrusted Ali radiallahu anhu with Fadak. When Ali radiallahu anhu became the Khalifa, he didn't take it back. When Hassan was a Khalifa for 6 months, he didn't take it back. So if it was correct that it was belonging to the Ahlul Bayt, why didn't they take it back?
Good point. I want to add something to this actually. This is a narration in our own books, which also, a second, let me just get it for you. It will add to this point. This is a narration about Fadak.
What I'll do as well is the Fatima radiallahu anha lived for 75 days, Brother Hijab.
Yep.
You have to remember the chronology of events that the Shia allege. What happened to Fatima radiallahu anha, 'cause that you have to, Fadak is connected to the broken rib as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened after, when Fatima radiallahu anha stood up, delivered a 45-minute speech whilst having a broken rib and losing a 6-month-old child.
Alright, I've got it here, sorry.
So we'll discuss that later.
This is in Bukhari Muslim. I'm just going to get to the point where it makes sense. Where the shahid, or the main point is. I might have to actually read the whole thing. But anyway, this is a hadith in Bukhari Muslim. So basically, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu said that وإني والله لا أغير شيئا من صدقة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said, I'm not going to change anything from the sadaqah of the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم عن حالها التي كان عليها في عهد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, from the way it was at the time of the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم. So this is Abu Bakr's position, right? وَلَأَعْلَمَنَّ فِيهَا بِمَا عَمِلَ بِهِ وَلَأَعْمَلَنَّ فِيهَا بِمَا عَمِلَ بِهِ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صلى الله عليه وسلم. I'm going to do with it what the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم did with it. فأبي بكر أن يدفع إلى فاطمة منها شيئا فوجدت فاطمة على أبي بكر في ذلك فهجرته. So she withdrew from him. Fatima withdrew from Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. فلم تكلمه حتى توفيت. She didn't speak to him until she died. وعاشت بعد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم 6 أشهر. And she died after his death, the Prophet ﷺ's death, 6 months. فلما توفيت دفنها زوجها علي ليلا ولم يؤذن بها أبي بكر. And then Abu Bakr didn't allow her to be so let me just get this right. فلما توفيت دفنها زوجها علي ليلا. Yeah, he didn't allow her to be.
Didn't allow funeral prayer for her.
Funeral in the night time, right?
Prayed her.
وصلى عليها وكان لعلي من الناس وجه حياة فاطمة فلما توفيت استنكر علي وجوه الناس. So Ali didn't want to, when she died, he didn't want to see people, basically, you know. فالتمس مصالحة أبي بكر مبايعته ولم يكن يبايع تلك الأشهر. So he didn't do bay'ah to Abu Bakr before that, and he did it. Yeah. فأرسل إلى أبي بكر أن ائتينا ولا يأتينا أحد معك. So Umar said, لا والله لا تدخل عليهم وحدك. He said, don't go there by yourself to Abu Bakr, because he knows that Ali just, he's just lost his wife. He said, don't go there by yourself. Yeah. فقال أبو بكر وما عسيتم أن يعلموا بي والله لآتينهم. He said, I'm definitely going. Wallahi, I'm going to. Or by God, I am going to go to them. فدخل عليهم أبو بكر. So he went into their residence, Abu Bakr. فتشهد علي فقال. So Ali said, إنا قد عرفنا فضلك وما أعطاك الله. This is very important. Who's saying what? This is Ali saying it to who? To Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. He says, إنا قد عرفنا فضلك وما أعطاك الله. We know your virtues and what Allah has given you. That's the first thing he said. So that we want to take some parts of the hadith and leave other parts. This already nullifies their narrative. إنا قد عرفنا فضلك وما أعطاك الله ولم ننفس عليك خيرا ساقه الله إليك. And we are not trying to compete with you on the good that Allah has given you. This is Ali saying that to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. ولكنك استبددت علينا بالأمر وكنا نرى لقرابنا من رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم نصيبا حتى فاضت علينا أبي بكر فلما تكلم أبو بكر قال والذي نفسي بيده لقرابة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أحب إلي أن أصل من قرابتي وأما الذي شجر بيني وبينكم من هذه الأموال فلم آل فيها عن الخير ولم أترك أمرا رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يصنعه فيها إلا صنعته. فقال علي لأبي بكر موعدك العشاء للبيعة. And it continues. Basically, he's explaining himself in this and saying, he's saying that the reason why I didn't give her the inheritance is because the Prophet didn't do it. Ali understood his point of view and he said that tomorrow I will come to give you bay'ah. This is Bukhari and Muslim.
Abu Bakr said, I would prefer your family to be closer to your family than I would my own family as well.
Yes.
So Abu Bakr.
So this, if they want to take because they will use our hadith, but the point is, if you want to use a hadith for fadak, use the whole hadith. Because the whole hadith doesn't show the narrative that they want to point out. And it shows you that we're not hiding anything, because it does say in our hadith that Fatima was upset with Abu Bakr. And had the Sunni hadith been manipulated, then this would have been removed, because we have something to hide here, right?
So Ali's point, is that Fadak is one contention. The main issue with after the death of the Prophet ﷺ is the attack, or the alleged attack on Fatima radiallahu anha.
By Omar.
By Omar. So Fadak is connected to that. So what they allege, and again, they've made a movie about it, if those who know.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, Yasser al-Khabith made a movie. Yeah, proper production. Yeah, la ilaha illallah. So what they have alleged, and this is very, very, they have processions about it, that when Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was given the Pledge of Allegiance in Saqifa, Ali radiallahu anhu rightfully, and this is all according to our traditions as well, he didn't give bay'ah. And many other companions didn't give bay'ah as well. And he believed he had a right in the matter. So according to the Shia narrative is that when Ali radiallahu anhu did not give bay'ah, they surrounded his house. And they were shouting, "Come out and give bay'ah." Ali radiallahu anhu did not come out, and the shouting continued. There was commotion. So Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu went to the house, kicked the door. Strangely, Fatima radiallahu anha was behind that door. Whether there was doors at that time, that's another debate altogether. Kicked the door. As he kicked the door, Fatima radiallahu anha was behind it. She was 6 months pregnant with an unborn child called Muhsin. So Umar ibn Khattab, according to the Shia narrative, he beat her, he whipped her with the end of his sword. And
Ali was standing there.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. The one that knows everything, can hear everything. Why didn't you just go to the door himself? If that made any sense. So think about picture this.
So that would mean that he's abusing his wife.
Yeah.
Ali is abusing her.
No, Ali is abusing her because he knew it and he let it happen.
He let it happen, yeah.
Yeah. So to summarize it, he beat her badly. They took Ali radiallahu anhu out the house like a camel, according to Najr al-Balagha. But what Ali radiallahu anhu is writing to Muawiyah and saying, you are saying I was dragged out like a camel. In the end, so Fatima radiallahu anha, we got a hadith here that said that عاشت فاطمة رضي الله عنها بعد أبيها 75 يوما, 75 days. So Fatima radiallahu anha has been severely beaten, lost a 6-month-old child, had a broken rib in the process. According to this hadith here, she went to the graveyard of the Shuhada of Uhud 3 times a week. 3 times a week. So imagine if you got a broken rib, you've lost your 6-month-old child, how can you visit Uhud, which is, according to Google Maps, if you walk from Masjid Nabawi, it's 1 hour and 15 minutes. So this narrative doesn't make sense from the get-go. Talking about Fadak now, when Fatima radiallahu anha lost her unborn child, 6 months old, would you not claim qisas for that unborn child?
Which is qisas?
Which is retribution. 6-month child, obviously in Islam, is it 120 days when the fetus is blown? You gotta give it a funeral prayer, don't you? So 6-month-old child, Muhsin's...
There should be blood money paid.
Blood money, qisas, retribution. Fatima radiallahu anha stood up, this called Khutbah al-Fadakiyah. Bilingual, Khutbah al-Fadakiyah is in Dalal Imama, Abu Ja'far Tabari, but they're Tabari, Imamiyah. I went through the pages, it's 8 pages, full. One Shia cleric read from it, it's 43 minutes. Is it possible that Fatima radiallahu anha would stand up, ask for fadak, but not ask for qisas for an unborn child? If indeed that unborn child was killed by Umar radiallahu anhu?
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Makes no sense.
So
43 minutes you're asking for...
She cares so much about the thing, but not for
And you know where fadak is, by the way? It's an oasis near Khaybar. It's not even in Medina. So it just, they don't place a timeline or a narrative because it doesn't make sense.
It's a really pathetic narrative, and it's a desperate attempt to malign the characters of all the personalities of Umar ibn Khattab and Abu Bakr Siddiq. Unfortunately, what is done is it has maligned their own conception of Ali ibn Abi Talib, because they've made him into a weak character who couldn't defend his wife, and they've made Fatima into a Christian Jesus figure, which the Quran does tanzih of Jesus, but rafa'ahu Allah ilayh, because that Allah has raised him instead of being crucified and so on. But they've made Fatima a subject of humiliation and death, and this is pathetic. Anyway, we move on to the third and final segment, which is the Quran. And I have to stress, the majority of Shias I've met, they'll say we believe in the same Quran that you believe in. We have to treat this mas'ala with care, because yes, they do have, and those individuals who say the Quran has been tampered with from the extremists from the Shias, we don't even consider them as Muslims. And in fact, some people from the Shia community excommunicate them as well. So we have to be fair in saying this. What do we have to say about this? Mark, do you want to start us up?
Sure. Yeah, like you pointed out, there is one camp of the Shia that believe that there's been tahrif, there's been addition and deletion from the Quran. And it seems like they are the minority, by the way.
Yeah.
So they it seems for them to be an obvious issue because they believe they believe that the companions who betrayed Ali radiallahu and went against God's commands in respecting and acknowledging imama could also very easily go against God's command in terms of preserving the Quran. So they have no issue with that. This is one camp. The second camp, they don't believe in tahrif in the sense that there's addition and deletion. They say there's manipulation in terms of interpretation and also in terms of how the verses have been ordered. And they believe. Okay, I'll get to that point later. So there are set of beliefs that the second camp have in regards to the preservation of Quran that I think we should take a close look at. So one, they say that that Ali radiallahu anhu in fact compiled the Quran in perfect form, in its perfect form, and he approached the others at the time with that Quran, and they rejected it. So the Umar radiallahu anhu and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and them basically rejected the perfect form of the Quran, and they collected their own form. They also believe that the way the Muslims read and recite the Quran is not it's not in its perfect form. It's not in the way that it pleases Allah. So they believe the Quran collected by Ali radiallahu anhu also had in it the explanation an exegesis alongside it. So, and again, like I mentioned earlier, the Quran collected by the caliphs differs from Ali radiallahu anhu's version in terms of the order of the chapters and the verses. So they believe Ali radiallahu anhu's Quran was compiled in a chronological form. So as the verses were revealed, it was preserved in that manner. So and also they believe that Ali radiallahu anhu's version of the Quran is miraculous in the sense that it's perfect, absolutely perfect. And they also believe that Ali radiallahu anhu's Quran will be revealed by the 12th Mahdi, the Imam, the Mahdi basically. So he'll come with the actual Quran. So in essence, both camps they do believe that the Quran that we have today is not the perfect Quran basically. So this obviously leads to like a form of distrust towards the Quran. And this actually manifests itself in the real world because, for example, in the Shia Hausa, there is a reluctance to teach the Quran. And also like people who within the Shia community who focus on Quranic studies are looked down upon and even at times mocked. It almost seems like they consider them to be wasting their time almost. So yeah, from what I can see, it seems like they superimpose their narrative onto the Quran rather than having the other way around where the Quran is what gives you your narrative. So yeah, for me it seems like their epistemology is like the other way around. So yeah, so that's what I had from the Quran.
Absolutely. I think that was a good summary. I think, and that's a really interesting point you made at the end there, because you realise that they actually spend a lot of time. Shia is actually very good at logic, mantiq, and usul fiqh. They're actually quite good. They spend a lot of time on that kind of thing, but then at the expense of, or the opportunity cost of the Quran. I mean, when was the last time you've seen like an expert, qari? I mean, in the Quran, that's knows the qira'at and is a muqri as well. And
they call Egypt, Egypt Qurra. Iran.
Say that again.
The Iran, they call Egypt Qurra.
For
yeah.
Can I mention a point?
Yes, of course.
You mentioned a very good point in the beginning that we need to be careful about saying who actually believes in the Quran to be in its original form, and those who believe that there is interpolation inserted in the Quran. Because a lot of the people, even the Shias that I've encountered, they say, look, we believe in the Quran.
Yeah, exactly.
We believe in the Quran. But what is interesting is this, that as brother mentioned, that the tahrif of the Quran is within the academic works.
Tahrif is?
Changing the interpolation of the Quran.
Yeah.
Yes. So for example, arguably one of the greatest scholars, Nur al-Tabrisi.
Yeah.
He's blessed. He was buried in the blessed land of Iran, as they say.
Yeah.
and he's wrote a full book, Al-Fasl al-Khitab fi Ithbati Tahrif Kitabi Rabbil Arbab. So the decisive statement regarding the establishing of the notion that the Quran has been changed. But the point here is, look, we can't do takfir.
It's as if he's really proving something.
Yeah, I know. He's got a full book on this. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
celebrated in Iran. So the point here is, we're not going to call, yes, we can't do takfir of people, but this is such a fundamental issue.
Yes.
That if a person believes that the Quran is changed, you don't have to be a faqih or a jurist or a scholar to say, oh, this person is not a Muslim. A person doesn't believe in the Quran, anybody can say he's not a Muslim. It's sort of fundamental. So this is the part. So those Shias who I've encountered, and they've said, look, we believe in the Quran. What they've struggled to answer, I said, okay, you believe in the Quran, alhamdulillah, marhaba. But what about this scholar? This scholar, they don't believe in the Quran. They believe the Quran is changed. Are they Muslims? That's when they become reluctant. They go, look, akhi, we're not in that position to say they're kafir. I mean, yallah, he's saying the Quran is changed. Do you believe this to be kufr? They just stop at that point.
I had a debate in Speaker's Corner with one of their polemics about this topic, and I've read through a lot, and this is basically fundamental in their primary sources. So I'll give you a hadith, for example, in Kafi, and there's a full chapter, by the way, which says Bab. This is Rasul Kafi. Bab fihi nukatun wa nutafun min at-tanzil fil wilaya, which basically means the chapter of gagging and tearing out the revelation in connection to wilaya. And this is al-Kulaini. So there's a hadith in this chapter which mentions in al-Quran that indeed the Quran that came down 17 alf ayah.
Yes.
17,000 verses. Now listen. Now Bakr al-Majusi or Majlisi wrote in Miratul Uqul. He said that فالخبر الصحيح فلا تخفى عن هذا الخبر, that this khabar is sahih and is not hidden, which is that in al-Quran الذي جاء به جبريل authentic الذي جاء به جبريل إلى محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم 17 ألف آية, 70,000 verses, and he's commented on this hadith now. And he's saying,
you memorized this hadith?
Yeah, no, I memorized the quote as well. He says فالخبر الصحيح. Majdi is saying in Miratul Uqul, this narration is authentic. فلا تخفى عن هذا الخبر, and it's not hidden from you that this khabar الصحيحة صريحة أن نقص القرآن وتغييره, that is clear that this Quran has been distorted and there's been stuff taken out. And to the point he goes, this is mutawatiratun ma'na, mass transmitted in meaning. Tafsir al-Safi, Fayd al-Kashani, Tabrasi, Nur al-Tabrasi was in the 19th century, but you got another Tabrasi who wrote Ihtijaj, was in like the 6th century. He wrote in his Ihtijaj, meaning the argumentation, he puts a passage in and said, to discuss about the Tahrif al-Quran would be very lengthy, and it suffices, and I'm paraphrasing by the way, he says, it suffices that the Quran was altered by the companions, was altered.
And this is, subhanAllah, and this shows you now when you can't make the case from the Quran, the next step is to try to reject it. Yeah.
And then there's a hadith in the Tabrasi, the Ihtijaj as well. There's plenty. This is the point I'm making, that the average Shia won't know about this, and this is, we have to declare it. They won't know. Unless, and the books are not translated from Arabic or Persian or any other
and that's
language.
why it's important to distinguish between Shiaism and Shias.
And the ones that call to it, the scholars and the laymen.
Yeah, definitely.
We have to differentiate that. So the brother mentioned importantly that it will be with the 12th Imam. It's by my head, I'm trying to look at it. But it's saying that the Ali radiallahu anhu came and he compiled the Quran. This is the hadith in the Ihtijaj, that he compiled the Quran. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and Umar heard about it. So they went to Ali radiallahu anhu and goes, give us this Quran. So when they read it, it says that the Quran was exposing them. So Umar ibn Khattab went back and heard and told Abu Bakr, sorry, Umar went and heard and told Abu Bakr. Long story short, Abu Bakr goes, take it, go back and get it, and we wanted to dispose of it. So Ali radiallahu anhu basically argued with them, and in the end said, this Quran won't leave me, and it will be passed on to my descendants until the 12th Imam that will come, and he would reveal it to the Ummah.
Wow, and it's interesting that these hadiths are authentic,
authentic.
Right?
And
it's
interesting to add as well, Ihtijaj, al-Tabrasi in his Muqaddimah says that the riwayat that I'm bringing in this book, the reason why I haven't mentioned the Isnad is because there's a wujud al-ijma' alayh. There's a consensus on this narration, or muwafaqat al-aql, that the aql agrees with it as well.
Which aql is this?
The one the one with the 12th Imam. But this is the point I'm raising, that Tahrif al-Quran or tampering of the Quran is very much fundamental in their religion, and to add, we don't accuse all Shias of believing this.
Of course not.
We just add that it's in your primary sources and your heads did propagate it, and it's very sinister and we have to call it out.
Okay, great. And is there anything, I think we've covered the three main areas. So now I'll leave it to the floor. Is there anything else which are common misconceptions, common things, interrogations, or arguments that are made that have not been covered today? Yes.
I think one thing which is usually mentioned is, ask the Prophet ﷺ, did he not leave a successor?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, what's an easy way to answer that?
So yeah, we would obviously say that it was that he did leave a successor, and he did actually let the people know who it was, and you know it was Abu Bakr radhiallahu anhu. And yeah, I believe there's a hadith. I can't remember if it's in Bukhari or Muslim, but an old lady comes to him, and she asks, you know, if I do not find you here, you know, in the next year, who should I go to? And he says, you know, go to Abu Bakr. And then on top of that, when the Prophet ﷺ was ill, you know, in his last few days, he appointed Abu Bakr to be the one to lead the salah for the Sahaba. Yeah. So these are all indications that, yeah, he is the entrusted, you know, successor to the Prophet ﷺ.
I could play devil's advocate and say that's in your narrations.
Yeah.
But on the plain of Ghadir, on the way back from Hajj, the Prophet ﷺ gathered everyone and held Ali's hand and said, Man kunta mawlahu fahada Ali mawlahu. That whoever takes me as, again, mawla, guardian, leader, you know, friend, whatever, Ali is his leader. And then Umar ibn Khattab said, Bakhin bakhin asbahta waliyan kulli al-mu'minin, that you become a wali for every believer. So they used that and said, look, Umar,
yeah, this is good that you mentioned that, because that is one of the key things.
The key things, they use that, and we believe that this happened. So we've got a point of contention here.
Yeah.
With these stories.
Yeah, exactly. So
how would you answer that, Tahir?
So I guess like we would say that both happened, right?
Yeah.
So what I mentioned happened, what you mentioned happened.
No, they would argue yours didn't happen.
Okay.
So because we're arguing from Bukhari.
Yeah.
This we both agree that Ghadir Khum and that statement was made, and Umar al-Khattab did say bakhin bakhin asbahta mu'min kull mu'min. So how would you argue that?
Okay. So I believe to that hadith there's a context. And yeah, the context is that there were a few people around the Prophet ﷺ who were, you know, oppressing Ali and, you know, saying bad things about him. And so for this reason the Prophet ﷺ, you know, on his way back, he declared to the Muslims around him, you know, that this, you know, that Ali, you know, he is your Mawla. That word Mawla, like, yeah, it has many different meanings. And amongst those meanings is, you know, master and all these other things, but also it can also mean, you know, your dear friend. Yeah, and the reason why, you know, like, maybe this can also mean evidence against them is also because the Prophet ﷺ, he did this on his way back after, you know, he delivered the final sermon, right? So if this idea of, you know, successorship of Ali radiallahu anhu was so important, why did he not mention it in the final sermon when he had all of the companions, you know, all came around to listen to this sermon? Why did he not mention it there? And he only mentioned it on the way back to, you know, a smaller group of them. So, yeah.
That's good. And on the issue of Mawla, I mean, the Quran says, وَالنَّارُ مَوْلَاهُمْ, the fire is the Mawla.
Well, Uncle used that against you in Speaker's Corner.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, he used that, something along the lines like, what was he saying? Yeah, how would you explain that Mawla? Is it, what's the context here? That the Nar would be your...
Well, I mean, it's the one that's harboring, keeping them in, you know, but it's not the leader. That's not what it is.
If you go to like the Qawamisis, if you go to the dictionaries, the lexicons of the Arabic language, Fairuz Abadi's, you go to various others.
It has like 8 or 9,
like 20, 30 different meanings.
Exactly, and so we don't need to necessarily say it means friend. No. Even if they go with the most stringent thing that they want to go through, they say it means master. Whoever's my master, then Ali is his master. That's the most severe thing you can say. Fine, no problem. What does that show? Does that mean now that there's 12 Imams that are all infallibles that must be followed, and that you know that they are higher? But then you've got another issue as well. Has he been now inaugurated? Has Ali now been inaugurated as a leader with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? So the two leaders at the time. So because Ali Mawla.
So he takes me as his leader. Then Ali is his leader.
So if that's to be taken as leader, there's two leaders, and the other hadith says if there's two leaders, kill one of them. It leads to absurdities. It leads to absurdities when you say that. So the point is, doesn't prove anything. This Mawla hadith doesn't prove nothing. even if you wanted to take their strongest, what it means, like, Mawla means master, no problem. Okay, fine, accepted. How does that go to 12 Imams and all the things that we just talked about? Infallibilities, and the Sahaba are bad people, and the Kuffar. This cannot be proven or substantiated with such a hadith.
There are various other issues as well, like the day of Thursday. There's another one.
Oh yeah, what do they call it? Raziyatul Khamis or something.
It's something Raziyatul Khamis,
like
yeah. So to summarize it, basically the Prophet ﷺ was in his final stages, and he requested a pen for something to be written that you won't be misled after or misguided after.
Yeah.
So there's two camps. One of the camps said, bring the paper.
Have you guys heard of this before?
Have you heard this? Anyone heard this before? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so bring it. So the companions split into two groups. One group requested a pen and paper to be brought because the Prophet ﷺ would say something that we won't be misguided. And the second camp, because the Prophet ﷺ was ill, they said, leave him.
And Umar was in that.
And Umar was in the other camp. So you have to remember, they blame Umar, but Umar wasn't alone in this. There was two camps. So the Prophet ﷺ, there was commotion, and the Prophet ﷺ was, leave me, and he requested everyone to leave. So they call this the day of Thursday because...
The tragedy of Thursday.
Yeah, because Ibn Abbas cried when he heard about it. The tragedy. Ibn Abbas, Ibn Abbas.
No, I mean, but the fact that they call this the tragedy of Thursday...
See, the answer... No, this is our report. This is our report. So the Prophet ﷺ, this happened on the Thursday. The Prophet ﷺ passed away on Monday. He had access, people around him. If he wanted to, alayhi salatu wasalam, he had Friday, Saturday and Sunday to tell us what this was. Now, we can't say what it was. For all we know, it could say Abu Bakr's the leader. How do you know?
So just to clarify, with this hadith, they call it a tragedy because
the Prophet didn't write down, he didn't get someone to write down.
Yeah. But see, but no one knows. See, no one can say what the Prophet ﷺ was going to write down. For all we know, he could say Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman was the leader.
Let me just on this point, this is actually one of the biggest evidences against them. Because I've had this conversation with someone before, and they say, well, the Prophet was going to write down everything about, basically Shia creed is going to be about 12 Imams and all the things. It's a consistent theme, right? The Sahaba are hiding the Quran. The Prophet was going to write down all the Shia tenets, and then he was stopped, so it becomes a tragedy. But this is actually a huge evidence against them, because the Quran states, اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. Chapter 5 verse 3, today I perfected your religion, I completed my favor upon you, and so on. If the religion is complete, whatever the Prophet was going to say was not going to add to the religion of Islam. Yeah, exactly.
Like obviously, for creedal matters and stuff like that, right? This issue of tabligh is something which is necessary for the prophets. You can't.
Tabligh is
that they've given the message. They've conveyed the message, successfully conveyed the message. And the corollary of this is that you're basically saying the Prophet ﷺ was a failure.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
He failed to transmit to his ummah what he was supposed to transmit.
Exactly.
Why are they reaching? This is too far.
This is actually the argument, and there's a juz'iyah of the hadith which says that Umar said, "Hasbuka kitabullah," and they say, "Look, this is the Qur'ani." Well, I mean, he doesn't believe in the Sunnah. He says, "Hasbuka kitabullah," that it's sufficient for you is the book of Allah. Therefore, Umar is advising against taking the information of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, because he said that sufficient for you. This is actually something which is repeated quite often. So look, you're saying what, like for example, when we have discussion with Shia, I've had these before, and I say let's just stick with the Quran because we have different hadith. They say, look, your Quran is just like Umar was, because he said Hasbuka kitabullah. It's beyond comical, but these are the kinds of things. Is there anything else before we conclude?
There's loads.
No, but main one, salient ones.
Alright, I got one. This is a good one about Sa'ad, about Muawiyah cursing Ali and the Mimbar.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
So there's a hadith in Sahih Muslim where Muawiyah asked Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, "Why don't you curse Abu Turab?" I can't forget the Arabic now. Why don't you curse Abu Turab?
Yeah.
And then Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas was narrating the virtues of Ali radhiallahu anhu. So they go, look, Ali radhiallahu anhu was being cursed on the Mimbar in Damascus, and the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man sabba aliyan sabbani." Now, whoever insults or curses Ali curses me. So how would you answer that?
Okay, great. How would you answer it?
Well, I'll let the people answer it first.
Okay, fine.
Let's open it up. But maybe this is the last one. So
what exactly is it?
so
Sorry.
so the battles are quite sort of, it's really core to Shia belief, the rift between the companions and the battles. So Muawiyah radiallahu anhu fought, well, let's to add as well, it was Ali radiallahu anhu who fought Muawiyah, because Ali radiallahu anhu took an army from Iraq to Syria, so it went the other way around. But Ali radiallahu anhu had the right to, because Muawiyah didn't give bay'ah. But that's another sort of side note. So after the arbitration, there was contention. So Ali radiallahu anhu was the Khalif, but he didn't rule over Ash-Sham. So there was many, people lost their lives. So naturally, some family members we're not denying that in the camp of Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, they were cursing Ali radiallahu anhu. So Muawiyah asked Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas, what prevents you? What prevents you that you don't curse Abu Turab? So what they're arguing from here is that Muawiyah was instructing Ali radiallahu anhu to be cursed on the minbar on Friday prayers, and they use a hadith that said, whoever insults or curses Ali curses me. So how would you respond to that? They have plenty, like these sort of examples in genre, they have plenty. So open the floor. How would people answer that?
I think you just give an answer.
Yeah, so the class answer is this: number one, what's worse? And Brother Farid gave this example, by the way. He said, what's worse, fighting or cursing? They both fought each other. Do you know? And that hadith is not authentic. The hadith itself is not authentic. But number one, we would just say, look, yes, it was happening. Did Muawiyah radiallahu anhu instruct this cursing? Was he the one that initiated it? No. Yes, it was happening because of the issues, because in Safiyyah many people lost their lives. It was a fitna between the companions. So some members were angry with Ali radiallahu anhu, and they used to insult him on the minbar. So what we say to that is, no, you can't prove that Muawiyah radiallahu anhu initiated it. It was happening. But what's worse, fighting or killing? Fighting or cursing? They both went to war. People fought each other, and the hadith is not authentic. So that's the second answer to that.
I would stick with that, actually. The fighting thing is, I think, a little bit different. Yeah. Because if it's not authentic, then we can imagine, maybe if you look at the chain a little bit more, some Shiite inside.
I was debating some Shia today on TikTok, and I went through it. And there's Ibrahim, Abu Ishaq al-Sibai, I think he is in the chain.
Who's that?
Some narrators, and Ibn Hajar in his Tahdib said, he's a mudallis. And
was he based in Kufa?
He was as well.
Oh, there you have it. Maybe you look more into
There's about 4 people in the chain, but that was a name that stuck into my head. Abu Ishaq, I think it's Sibai or Sibai.
Yeah, Kufa is a hub for Shia narrators and Khawarij as well.
Zurara, we could have went into Zurara. I've got plenty of stuff, but most of them, what's he called? Abu Basir, Zurara, Abu Hisham al-Hakam. All of these are the notorious narrators that lied upon Abu Ja'far.
There you have it.
Heavily.
Brilliant. Any last things? Yes.
Just on this Khilafah thing, I've just been thinking that if Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu and Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu and Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, if their Khilafah was not legitimate, it was not proper Khilafah, then it's Baghawa, rebellion. So it's either true Khilafah, true establishment of leadership, or it was rebellion. There's no third option.
Yes.
The Quran, Surah Nur, verse 55, وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ لَيَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُم فِي الْأَرْضِ كَمَا اسْتَخْلَفَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ وَلِيُمَكِّنَنَّ لَهُمْ دِينَهُمُ الَّذِي ارْتَضَىٰ لَهُمْ وَلِيُبَدِّلَنَّهُم مِنْ بَعْدِ خَوْفِهِمْ أَمْنًا. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this verse in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when Abu Bakr, Umar, etc. were alive, that Allah's promised Khilafah for you like He promised for the people before, and they will establish their deen which Allah is pleased with, and also there will be a peace. I mean, in the time of Umar radiallahu ta'ala, even Western academics believe there was so much aman through his Khilafah. So the Quran is saying that Allah has promised Khilafah for the Sahaba, and that has to be immediately after Risala, after prophethood. I mean, it's highly inconceivable to think that for 24 years or so, the Khilafat of Abu Bakr, Umar and Uthman, all collectively, there was Baghawa.
They'll argue Ridda. That's their main intention.
Yeah, and then just in the time of Ali radiallahu ta'ala and Khilafat came, So for like 24 years, the promise of Allah was not fulfilled. And those people who upon whom the Quran was, the witness, the revelation of the Quran, of this verse, they did not establish the Khilafah, and in 24 years it was Baghawat, and then he just came after 24 years. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, isn't
it's
it?
Ajib.
And Ali's reign was full of
It's true, Allah.
tribulation and wars and even rebellion. Khawarij was born from the camp of Ali radhiyallahu anhu after the arbitration.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the business with the 12th Imam?
I've got a video to do on
I've seen some things about him. But
He's hiding in the cave. No, but do you
I
know?
know. Do you know much about his early life and his mother? Like,
How was the Prophet
this issue of him being.
Say again? Just-
That's what I wanted to understand. What's this issue of the visa?
Nothing to do with any. Apparently, he goes Hajj, but then he's meant to be in the Sardab in the cave. I mean, it's just mythology. But at this stage, it's mythology because if you go to the cave, there's no one there.
have you seen? But have you seen the size of the hole in the cave? It's in Samarra.
Yeah, I've seen this.
There's a. You got to go down the salah.
Is it huge?
It's
Small.
It's a rat can't even come out of there. I'm not even joking. Uqsumu billahi al-azim, you look at it, and according to a narration of this, they face towards it as well, instead of so they give their back to the Kaaba. But that's funny. If you were to know about his mother, how she married Hassan al-Askari, the birth, when he ran away, his representatives, honestly, Disney Pixar could make huge money if they were to make a movie about that.
I don't think so.
I think so.
I wouldn't watch this.
I would watch it.
What do you call it? The Great Escape?
Nah, like
They've already done this for a movie.
I'll call it like hidden until further notice. But yeah, but just it's so ridiculous, and I was going through it yesterday, in fact, and I made a challenge on TikTok, by the way, to get that out there. I said, read from Kamaluddin, because Kamaluddin, that book there was written by as-Saduq, because many people forgot about the 12th Imam, naturally so, because he's been hiding, hasn't he? You're gonna forget about him, Finding Nemo. And he had a dream, and he saw the Mahdi doing tawaf around. I'm not even joking. Honestly, it's in there if you want to read it.
That's fine.
And the Mahdi was doing tawaf around the Kaaba, and he saw him, and he said, "Why have you forgotten about me?" And he said, "I haven't. I've dreamt about you many times. I've been giving speeches." He goes, "No, you need to write a decisive book about my ghaibah." So with this book, the book was dedicated to educating the masses about the 12th Imam, whose name was, by the way, Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Askari. In this book, in the chapter 42, is talking about his birth. I challenge any Shia to go just read it. Just be brave enough to just read hadith number 1. Still waiting.
Well, we'll watch that video. We'll wait for it.
Wait for it.
Furqan, did you have anything to say?
Yeah, that was about the pen and paper incident.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention that if that incident were to be true, let's just say that the Prophet.
I like that, the pen and paper incident. That's what we should call it.
Yeah.
No, they call it the tragedy of Thursday, right?
They call it as well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so if that were to be true, that the Prophet requested pen and paper to write down who's going to be the successor, then the incident in Gadirhum loses all its value.
That's a really good point. That is a really, really good point.
And because then what's the point of saying it twice?
Yeah. Very good point.
Also, you can say that it was Ali's duty to bring the paper.
Guys.
Pen and paper. Because he was the. It was Ali's duty to bring the pen and paper because he was the guest. Sorry, he was the household.
Yep.
So it's not gonna be the guests, the one that's supposed to bring the pen and paper. So if he didn't bring, so you can't blame Abu Bakr or Umar for something that was supposed to be done by Ali.
That's a really good point as well, man.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's it.
I mean, because just because Umar said, just leave the Prophet, it doesn't mean that that had to be obeyed. Why are you listening to Umar? To get the pen and paper and write it down.
Yeah, I as well, but have that inauthentic narration that Umar allegedly said that Prophet became delirious.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
so to add that as well, because that's a potential attack as well. But that's not in the narration of Bukhari Muslim, just to add.
Interesting. Good. Thanks for adding that. I think we've covered quite a lot here today. I don't know how many hours this video is, probably 5 hours or something. How many hours is it?
20 minutes.
2020?
29.
It felt like more longer, isn't it?
2.5.
Oh wow. Well, it has been fantastic sharing notes with our great hosts today, great participants today. And it has been very edifying for me, and I hope for you guys as well. And with that, I leave you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.